What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 1LF Chapter 1. Sign in successfully and get lion fruit. Open black lens bracket ding. Congratulations on binding the host to the sign-in system, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket ding. Congratulations to host for successfully signing in and getting lion fruit, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket ding. Congratulations to host for getting the barrier fruit, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket ding. Congratulations to host for getting the fortified city fruit, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket ding. Congratulations to host for getting Conqueror's Haki, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket ding. Congratulations to host for receiving the Invincible Swordsmanship, Advanced, Experience package, close black lens bracket. When Xia Luo heard the voice coming from her ears, she became excited. 5 years. Xia Luo has traveled to the world of One Piece for 5 years. He knows he has a system, but he doesn't know how to activate it. In order to activate the system, he made various attempts, but he never expected that it would happen today. Marine came to enforce the law, and at the critical moment, he activated his sign-in system. And the system just gave him a chance to reward him with so many treasures. With various fruits and sword skills at his side, Xia Luo's confidence instantly increased. Xia Luo pulled Nami back and stood up. Nami, it's useless to reason with this group of people, let me do it. GGG. Who are you? Do you want to disobey Marine's orders? Anyone who obstructs Marine's law enforcement will be treated as pirates and will be taken back. Haha. Who am I? I am the one who takes your lives. Xia Luo had had enough of Colonel Mouse's sinister laughter, and before the sailors could surround him, Xia Luo had already taken the lead in taking action. Slash wave. Even without armament Haki, the intensity of slash wave can easily tear these people apart. Wow. Before the Marines could react, everyone in front was cut in half, including the corpse of Colonel Mouse. The sailors who had surrounded Xia Luo behind him were so shocked that they could not speak. They wanted to escape from this demon-like man. But my feet were trembling as if they didn't obey me, and I couldn't take a step at all. Xia Luo didn't give them a chance to beg for mercy and killed all the sailors in an instant. In less than 3 seconds, all the Marine troops brought by Colonel Mouse were wiped out. Xia Luo. Nami ran forward and swallowed hard looking at the corpses on the ground. Don't worry, since they are already here, there is no escaping this matter. Xia Luo took back her sword and said to the women behind her. Marine was probably here to collect his military exploits. He probably didn't report it back to the higher-ups. Now that he's been killed here by you, there are only 2 options left. After Karina analyzed the current situation, she stretched out 2 fingers towards Xia Luo. Tell me the story. Oh, the first one is that we run away immediately, and we will probably be wanted by Marine later. It looks very bad. Why was he wanted so quickly? Where's the other one? Karina took a long breath and said the second method with a complicated expression. The second way is to invade Branch 16 and kill all the Marines inside, so no one knows we were the ones who killed them. Xia Luo lowered his head and thought for a moment. The second method was undoubtedly the best choice, but he didn't want to kill anyone. Even in Marine, there are not all bad people, so Xia Luo still wants to take a look. How's it going? Have you thought about it? Karina stepped forward and asked. No, let's go to Branch 16 and have a look before deciding. Marine base should have the information I want. Xia Luo shook his head. He still had no answer for how to make a decision. Okay, I'll go with you. Well, Karina and Nami come with me. Kaya, you guys wait for me here. Xia Luo turned to Kaya and Nuo Kagao and said, then picked up the 2 women's waists and took off towards Marine base. Kaya looked worried, and Noki stepped forward, hugged Kaya and comforted her. Don't worry, they will take care of everything. With Xia Luo flying at full speed, it didn't take long to arrive at the 16th Marine branch. After carefully avoiding the insistent sailors, he walked all the way to the colonel's office. After getting rid of the Navy soldiers guarding the door, Xia Luo and the other 3 began to rummage in the office. It didn't take long to find numerous evidence of Colonel Rat's crimes. It turns out that this Marine base is not without righteous people. When the nearby civilians asked for help, they reported it to Colonel Mouse. However, they were all suppressed by Colonel Mouse. This part of Marine who still had a conscience finally couldn't bear it after being suppressed once and chose to report to his superiors, Naval Headquarters. Unexpectedly, the undercover agent deployed by Colonel Mouse learned of this move. After knowing that this group of people wanted to spare him and reported the matter to the headquarters, he put them all into the deserter list and then expelled them from Marine. Sailors expelled from Marine in this way can no longer join Marine, and their words are not trusted by Marine people. So the entire Marine base is filled with sailors who are colluding with Colonel Mouse. It's really disgusting. It's like a nest of snakes and rats. There is no good person here. Nami and Karina were indignant after reading the information. Well, keeping this Marine base will also harm the surrounding civilians. In this case, there is no need for them to exist. Xia Luo made up her mind with cold eyes, no longer hiding her figure, and walked out of Colonel Marine's office openly. Who are you? There is an intruder breaking in. Not long after, they encountered several sailors who pointed muskets at Xia Luo, but before they could fire, Xia Luo disappeared from their eyes. Sharp slashes took away their lives, and Xia Luo used the storage space to pack all the bodies. What follows is the massacre at Marine Base. In less than half an hour, Xia Luo cleared the base of corrupted Marines. There was no life or breath of life under his own perception, so all Xia Luo's corpses were thrown into the sea. The sea beasts who smelled the blood came over to eat the corpses. Why are these Marines thrown into the sea? Nami felt a little strange about Xia Luo's behavior. I want to take away this Marine base. That Colonel Mouse is a person who knows how to enjoy himself. He has built a lot of luxurious equipment here. It would be a waste not to use it. I don't want to leave these things for the next Marine who comes here to enjoy. Xia Luo explained clearly, but Nami was still a little confused. Take it away? Where can you take it? Hey, just watch. He didn't explain it to Nami, but let the other party see it with his own eyes. I saw Xia Luo reaching out and pressing the ground, activating Lion Fruit's ability with all her strength. Boom boom boom. Suddenly the entire Marine base began to shake, and then Nami and Karina felt as if their perspective was being lifted upwards. The next scene directly shattered their worldview, and the two of them looked at Xia Luo dumbfounded. Fly. It's flying. The whole Marine base is flying. Nami stammered to finish. Fierce seawater poured into the place where the Marine base had just risen. At this time, the Marine base had already completely lifted off the sea. Luckily I have enough strength. If I hadn't absorbed a lot of energy to maintain my strength, I probably wouldn't have been able to float the entire Marine base easily. Chapter 2 Obtaining a base. Xia Luo took a long breath and wiped the sweat from his forehead. Floating across the entire island using the fruit's ability is still very energy consuming, let alone one that hasn't yet awakened. But fortunately, after the ability is successfully activated, there is no need to use physical strength to maintain it. How did you do it? This is a whole island, Karina stepped forward to ask. She also had demon fruit power, but she never imagined that a person with fruit power could do such a thing. The main fruit ability is strong enough, and you can do it with enough physical strength. It is like your strongest defense. If your fruit ability is developed to the limit, there will be no attack in the world that can break it. Xia Luo explained to Karina with a smile. I plan to raise this island to an altitude of 10,000 meters, and use this place as our secret base from now on. Xia Luo looked at the Marine base with satisfaction, but the Marine flag was a bit annoying. No, I have to find time to decorate this place and make it my own base camp. Let's go back to Kokoja village first. After a few days' rest, we'll set out for Logue Town. Xia Luo suggested. The two women, who were in a daze, did not pay attention to what Xia Luo said. They just said yes and then lifted the island into the sky. Then he called Nami and Karina to search for the treasure house of this Marine base. Colonel Rat can be said to have drained the blood of nearby villages, and a large amount of military expenditures are allocated here every year. He enjoyed it all, which can be seen from the luxurious facilities here. But now they are all cheaper. Xia Luo. After coming out of Marine's treasure house, Xia Luo realized how rich the mouse colonel really was. Bailey alone had a total of 3 billion, and he even collected several famous swords. The money made Nami laugh so hard for the next few days that she couldn't sleep from ear to ear. She murmured, a lot of money, it's all mine, in her dreams. After returning to Kokoja village, Nochigao and Kaya were relieved to see that none of the three people were injured. 3 days passed peacefully like this. Hey, Nuo Chigao, you don't want Nami to be alone in the future. He, if you know what's going on, just come on the boat with me. Xia Luo showed an evil smile and was about to reach out and grab Nokigao. You idiot captain. What did you do to my sister again? Get on the ship and set off. Nami kicked Xia Luo away with a flying kick. Isn't this an effort to keep you two sisters from being separated? Xia Luo looked like her little daughter-in-law was being bullied, covered her face where Nami kicked her, and looked at her aggrievedly. In fact, there is no way to break the defense this time. Nuo Kagao laughed out loud when he saw the warm daily interactions between Xia Luo and Nami, and then said softly with a gentle smile. Sure. Agree. Nokagao, who expected to remain silent as usual, responded abnormally this time. Xia Luo thought she heard wrongly. Nami was also surprised. She thought her sister would stay in the orange grove, but she didn't expect that Xia Luo actually convinced her to agree to go to sea together. Even I can't always refuse such a sincere invitation. Besides, I also want to go overseas and see it. Nuachu winked at Nami. This naughty and cute look was completely different from the gentle and kind-hearted big sister she used to be. Woohoo, that's great. Xia Luo picked up Nami and Nuoki and spun them around. This caused the two women to scream in surprise, but Xia Luo, who looked like a child, also chuckled. Sail. Target. The stars and the sea. Xia Luo shouted the slogan of the second grade and flew out with the two girls in her arms. On the edge of the cliff, Aegean looked at the sailing ship going away and smiled slightly. Belmere, your daughter has found a good partner. Starting today, they will go to sea. If you are still here, you will be very happy to see this. Chapter 3 Monitoring Marines' Movements. It has been 2 days since Xia Luo left Kokoja village. Inside the meeting room of the Naval Headquarters building, Marshal Sengoku is sitting in the main seat in the conference room, followed in order by Admiral Aokiji, Admiral Kizaru, Admiral Akainu, and the senior staff officer. Next are several familiar Marine mainstays, Ghost Spider, Huashanshin, Mole, and Doberman. What do you think about the disappearance of Marine Branch 16 and all its members? Sengoku rubbed his eyebrows and said to the people below, 2 days ago, a quick report was delivered to Sengoku. Marine Branch 16 disappeared out of thin air. The life and death of all members are unknown. The East Blue Dragon pirates were attacked by a double-sword swordsman named Xia Luo. There is also a picture of Xia Luo killing the dragon pirates. The dual-sword swordsman Xia Luo is suspected of using the unknown devil fruit to control the power of soil. Later, it was revealed that the pirates killed by Xia Luo's bounty plan, more than a dozen pirates worth millions or even tens of millions of bellies, all died at his hands. This news was released by World Economic News President Morgan Guns. After receiving Newsbird's photo of Xia Luo killing the East Blue Overlord Dragon, Morgan Guns immediately sent his men to investigate Xia Luo's deeds. It would have been better not to check, but once they did, they found out that Xia Luo had killed almost all the famous pirates in East Blue, and the rest had not been encountered. Morgan Gans immediately smelled the big news and announced all Xia Luo's actions and achievements. Now Xia Luo has become East Blue Supernova Bounty Hunter. Sengoku immediately informed Garp, who was still in East Blue, to go to the 16th branch. The 3 admirals who happened to be away on missions all returned, and Sengoku held an emergency meeting to discuss the East Blue incident. HMPH, what happened in Branch 16 seems to be the work of this double-sword swordsman, right? Otherwise, how could it be such a coincidence? This kind of evil person should be strangled and Marine should be sent to clean it up immediately. Akainu snorted coldly, becoming suspicious of Xia Luo's appearance in Kokoja village near the 16th branch. But we don't have actual evidence to prove that he did what happened in Branch 16, right? Crane Vice Admiral said softly with a calm expression. It is not a wise move to rashly push a powerful bounty hunter into confrontation. Aokiji also expressed his opinions. Today's young people are really scary. Even the dragon pirates were easily. It's solved. Not only the swordsmanship, but also Devil Fruit's ability seems to be very powerful. Kizaru drank tea with a leisurely expression while talking about how scary it was, completely forgetting that he had easily defeated and arrested the dragon pirates before. On the other side, Garp rushed to the 16th Marine Branch Base, but when he arrived at the location, he found that it was completely empty. Not to mention Marine Base, there wasn't even an island. The navigators on Garp's ship were so frightened that they thought they had gone to the wrong place. After repeated confirmation, they found that the branch had really disappeared out of thin air. Having no choice but to find no clues, Garp could only head towards the nearby village of Kokoja. When I first arrived on the island, I could clearly feel the cheerful atmosphere. The civilians here are full of cheerful smiles. But with Marine's intervention, the crowd's expressions became gloomy, and they closed the doors and windows from house to house. Garp was a little confused about the situation, when a voice came from behind them. Excuse me, Master Marine, what do you want to do when you come to Kokoja village? Jian asked with a calm expression. Oh, I finally have someone to talk to. I am the Vice Admiral of Naval Headquarters. I came here to investigate the disappearance of Marine Branch 16, do you have any clues here? Seeing that someone finally struck up a conversation, Garp smiled broadly. However, Jian, who was opposite him, frowned, and then returned to his calm tone. Marine Branch 16. Not sure, but a masked man here gave me a letter a few days ago, saying that if a Marine comes over, I can give it to you. Jian took out a letter from his arms, which was exactly the various criminal evidence of Colonel Mouse that Xia Luo left for him. Garp took it and started to read it, but the more he looked at it, the more ugly his face became. Veins popped up on his head, and the hand holding the letter was trembling slightly. These damn bastards, I didn't expect that East Blue has become so corrupt since I haven't been back for so long. Garp's furious voice came out from his mouth. At this time, he was already a dynamite barrel that was about to be ignited, and his anger had nowhere to vent. We are the ones who have failed the common people of Kokoja village. We are very sorry. Garp bowed deeply to Jian with a very remorseful expression. Jian was stunned on the spot. Marine, who used to be so aloof, would actually bow his head to a commoner like him. No, Vice Admiral, you are speaking harshly. Jian helps Garp up so that he doesn't have to blame himself. Well. Garp sighed helplessly. There was nothing he could do about this happening, and he only regretted why he was not there in the first place. There's one more thing I want to ask, about the double-sword swordsman Xia Luo. Did you see him during the time when Marine Base 16 disappeared? Was there anything unusual about him? Are you here? Jian's expression remained unchanged, but when Garp talked about Xia Luo, he immediately smiled and said in a tone of admiration. Xia Luo, he is the great benefactor of our village. It was he who defeated the dragon pirates that freed us and the surrounding villages. After we liberated the village, we held banquets to celebrate for 5 days in a row. It was nothing unusual for Xia Luo to stay with us all the time. Until 2 days ago, Xia Luo said that she had a new journey and planned to continue traveling around the world and set sail again. Mr. Marine, do you have any questions? Aegean said with a smile on his face, and Garp looked at him thoughtfully. No, we roughly know the situation. Next we will send new Marines to guard here and investigate the reason why the 16th branch disappeared. I promise it will never happen again. Garp swore solemnly, then led his men back to the ship, and then took out a telephone bug and made a call. Blue brew brew. Garp, do you have any news there? During the meeting, Sengoku answered the phone and amplified the sound so that everyone present could hear. Then Garp started talking about the 16th branch, and how Xia Luo had been staying with the villagers for 5 days without leaving until 2 days ago. Bang. These guys are really rebelling. Do they think of themselves as the local emperors of East Blue? There is such a scumbag in Marine. Sengoku banged the table angrily. Unexpectedly, the Marine base that worked so hard in previous years turned out to be an extremely corrupt place. It even defrauded a large amount of military expenses on the pretext that too many wounded soldiers needed pensions. Immediately notify the people in the branch and ask them to cancel the deserter records of those people, and then send someone over to apologize. If they are still willing to join Marine, send them back to the headquarters for further training. Sengoku said to the recorder beside him. Yes, Marshal Sengoku. The recorder immediately ran out of the door and ordered the soldiers waiting outside. Well, Crane Vice Admiral sighed helplessly. There was silence. If those guys are still alive, they must all be sent to military courts and sentenced to death. Akainu was the first to shout in an extremely angry voice. It's useless to talk about it now. The entire base is gone. They're probably all killed. Let's talk about this Xia Luo and how to deal with him. Aokiji's cold voice sounded. What Garp had just said made him feel angry. He was in a very bad mood at this time. Inform Marine below. Whenever you meet Xia Luo, you will invite him and grant him the position of Commodore in the headquarters. As of now, there is no evidence that Xia Luo did this. Instead of establishing an enemy for Marine, it is better to drag him to our camp. Crane Vice Admiral spoke calmly. She had a lot of experience and analyzed the situation calmly. Then let's decide. I will draft the manuscript myself and give it to 5 elders. There was no objection at the scene. Sengoku immediately took action and asked his subordinates to notify the people below to observe in real time. If he met Xia Luo, he would be invited to join Marine. The meeting was dissolved and everyone left the meeting room one after another. Achu. Xia Luo, who was sailing on the sea at this time, didn't know that Marine had held a meeting for him because of the matter of Branch 16. It's strange. What are you thinking about me? I've sneezed a few times today. Could it be that I'm catching a cold? It's impossible. How can someone with a steel balloon's constitution catch a cold? Forget it. I'd better ask Nami to post it. Xia Luo ran to Nami's side with a happy face. Since the death of the evil dragon, Nami has an incomparable sense of dependence and security on Xia Luo. Coupled with Xia Luo's habit of always posting these days, I finally no longer resented Xia Luo's posting. Chapter 4 Various item rewards of the system. Since the cooldown time for this check-in was relatively long, Xia Luo did not go directly to Log Town to wait, but wandered around East Blue. Every time you visit a city or village, eat a special meal at a local restaurant and buy the recipe from the boss. For this reason, Xia Luo even made a special trip to Barati, a restaurant on the sea. There, they spent 50 million belly to feast on their food and replenish all their body energy. This made Nami and Karina burst into tears. After Xia Luo digested these delicacies, her body underwent further changes. Open black lens bracket host. Xia Luo close black lens bracket, strength. A. Agility. B+, spirit. B. Skills. Kendo B, Armament Haki C+, Observation Haki C+, Conqueror's Haki C, Marine 6 Styles Shaving C+, Moonwalk C+. Fruit ability. Lion Fruit B, Talent, Steel Balloon. Equipment. Deadwood, Sakura 10, Comprehensive Evaluation, Marine Elite Vice Admiral Level Combat Power. You can now gain a foothold in the Grand Line. Close black lens bracket. Now Xia Luo feels that as she eats more food, her body becomes stronger, and the energy seems to be slowly changing Xia Luo's physique. The most intuitive thing is that the 3 items of strength, agility and spirit have improved by a small stage, and the swordsmanship has also been gradually improved to B. Coupled with other attributes, he can stand in the sea, but it is still impossible to fight against those huge forces. Now Xia Luo desperately wants to improve Conqueror's Haki, but this skill cannot be improved through practice. It can only grow with his own courage. The stronger the courage, the stronger Conqueror's Haki will be. You still need to continue working on other skills to improve. Nami, are the chefs in Barati willing to sell the cooking methods here? Xia Luo looked at Nami, who was returning from an outing in boredom, hugged her from behind and put her head on Nami's shoulder. That perverted chef is easy to handle. I just said that I wanted to learn such cooking skills and he gave me all his cooking skills. Nami winked at Xia Luo with this okay gesture. Xia Luo grinned and gave her a thumbs up. Good guy, as expected of you, Nami, you prostituted yourself for nothing. These days, the women on the boat are not only practicing but also cooking the most diligently, because they are not yet in good enough shape to practice shaving and moonwalking. Currently, the training for Nami and the others is only physical, but they also need to maintain a good amount of training. He didn't want Nami, Karina, and Nuo-Chi's tall girls to suddenly grow into muscles by then. Nuo Kagao was quite interested in Xia Luo's swordsmanship. Xia Luo asked Nuo-Chi to train her physical fitness while also taking some time to practice swordsmanship. But he didn't expect Nokagao to actually use the swordsmanship he learned to cook, which left Xia Luo speechless. "Oh, I really can't stand you two. Calculating the time, it's almost time to go to Logue Town, otherwise I won't be able to catch up with your plan." Karina walked out of the cabin and saw that Nami had returned. After receiving the cooking experience from Nami, I started researching it. The women on the ship, including Xia Luo, have all studied advanced cooking books in the training room, and their cooking skills have all improved to the intermediate level. Nuo Chigao's talent was slightly better, and she already had a basic foundation. After learning and practicing for a period of time, her cooking level was directly improved to an advanced level. He has become the best cook on the ship and is now the ship's chef. Position. I have gained experience in cooking a Bharati restaurant, and it's really time to set off. Where are Nako and Kaya? Xia Luo nuzzled Nami, who was in her arms, but was punched by the latter, who blushed. Obviously, the psychological quality in the original work is not yet there. If Nami was bold in the original work, she probably wouldn't care so much. Nokagao is still researching new dishes in the kitchen. You know this is her hobby now. As for Kaya, she is taking notes in the room and studying medicine. Karina shrugged, a little bit unable to stand the relationship between the two of them. Xia Luo usually wants her to stick to her, but sometimes Karina uses a barrier to block her. As a result, Xia Luo can only look at her with resentful eyes. If we fly at full speed, I estimate that we can reach Logue Town in 2 days. Xia Luo let go of Nami in her arms and said to the two women. You guys go back to the cabin first. I'll control the sailboat. Remember to ask Nokagao to leave me a newly researched dish. I want to try it too. 2 days later, we arrived at Logue Town without any danger. During this period, we also encountered a violent storm. Fortunately, Nami's weather perception prevented the sailboat from plunging into the heavy rain. Xia Luo also escaped the storm after raising the sailboat to an altitude of 10,000 meters. Ding! The sign-in system has detected the target Logue Town. Do you want to sign in to the target? Sign in, ding. Get the armament Haki experience pack, ding. Get 1 ton of vibranium metal, ding. Get the arc reactor technology. Watch out, this sign-in reward is a bit beyond expectations. If I remember correctly, vibranium and the arc reactor are products of the American comic book worldview. Xia Luo didn't expect that it could actually develop technologies and materials from other worlds. He thought it was some magic modification. For example, the Wuji Baifeng pills that Xia Luo obtained before, as well as storage space. An idea flashed through my mind. Xia Luo has already thought of a way to enhance the combat power of Nami and Nuo Kagao. The remaining experience package of armament Haki is just enough to improve Xia Luo to the level of B. There will be a big wave of improvement at every step between intensities. Xia Luo feels that the attack power and defense power obtained by the color entanglement of one's own weapon have become stronger. Even if you don't learn how to use these moves from Nagli, you will probably master these techniques automatically after you improve your proficiency. What are you doing there? Karina shouted at Xia Luo, who was stunned at the port. Oh, here it comes. After regaining consciousness, Xia Luo quickly kept up with the pace of the women. Nagagao and Kaya are going to buy food. Where are you going? Nami asked. Maybe go take a look at One Piece's execution platform and then look around. Where are you and Karina? Where do you plan to go? Xia Luo lowered his head and thought for a while, then answered after realizing that he had nowhere to go. Nami and I are going to a clothing store. Since you have nothing else to do, we can only help you carry our things. When Xia Luo replied that she had nothing to do, Karina showed a successful smile and immediately hugged Xia Luo's arm and said seductively. Unable to withstand the temptation, Xia Luo immediately agreed, but then Xia Luo will have to pay the price for his choice. That's almost it. Xia Luo was like an eggplant beaten by frost, her whole body was languid. Huh? What are you talking about? This is just the beginning. Karina glanced back at Xia Luo in confusion, then covered her mouth and laughed after noticing the other person's state. Okay, I'll give you a reward after you persist for a while and wait until you get back. It'll be fine in a little while. Karina winked at Xia Luo with a seductive smile and comforted her. We also need to change to a larger sailboat. Let's go to the shipyard to have a look later. Speaking of rewards, Xia Luo was no longer sleepy and her energy immediately returned to normal. But he really didn't want to experience going shopping with a woman again. Chapter 5. Kill Smoker instantly with one move after going shopping with the two girls. Xia Luo also went to the execution platform of One Piece, but it looked really ordinary. I don't have the kind of resonance shown in the animation. In reality, I can only feel a little bit of the spirit that exists here. Then he took the two of them to Logue Town to look for the record pointer of the Grand Line. Their hard work paid off and they finally bought some record pointers and eternal pointers at a map store. Came to the shipyard, where Xia Luo chose a dhow similar in size to the Golden Mary. It cost 20 million belly, but luckily it was worth a few meals. Now Xia Luo is a man with 3.7 billion Baileys. Colonel Mouse's contribution means that he does not need to spend too much energy to make money in the future. While Xia Luo was carrying supplies on the small sailboat, a team of Marines came to him. The visitor is an old acquaintance, the White Hunter, Smoker, a Marine who truly has a righteous heart. The main reason why he is an old acquaintance is that this White Hunter often appeared in the online articles that Xia Luo read in his previous life, and he would always come back exhausted. Even in the animation, it ended in failure, and in the later period, there was no success at all. Following Smoker was a girl with short hair and red-rimmed glasses. Tashigi was a truly righteous girl in the later stage, but now she looks like a girl in the early stage. Well, the visual difference is quite big. Tashigi suddenly felt a little chilly, tightened his tight clothes and followed Smoker to Xia Luo. Your Excellency, you must be Xia Luo, the double-sword swordsman who has recently become famous. Smoker puffed out smoke and spoke the question in a sure tone. That's right, what's the matter? Xia Luo felt a little baffled. He had also read the Morgan Guns newspaper a few days ago. He thought Marine would be suspicious of him and put a bounty on him. But after such a long time, I haven't seen any news from Marine. I simply thought that Marine didn't pay much attention to a little guy with no reputation like him. First am Marine Colonel Smoker stationed in Logue Town. I am here mainly to extend an invitation to you in the name of Naval Headquarters. As long as you join the Marine Corps, you can go to the Naval Headquarters to be awarded the rank of Commodore and publicize your achievements in conquering pirates in the East Blue. With your strength, I believe it won't take long to be promoted to Rear Admiral. Smoker slowly blew out a smoke ring and looked at Xia Luo with sharp eyes. However, Xia Luo was a little confused at this time. Did she invite herself to join Marine? No wonder Marine had been silent before. It turned out to be this idea. No, I long for a free life. Rather than working 9 to 5 at Marine, it would be better to have some freedom outside. Xia Luo smiled and declined Smoker's invitation. But, shouldn't those with power need to uphold the justice of the sea? If a powerful bounty hunter like you, Mr. Xia Luo, joins Marine, you will definitely be taken seriously. Tashigi couldn't help but said, Tashigi, yes. Smoker roared impatiently, and the latter immediately trembled in awe. There is no place for you to talk here. Smoker looked at Tashigi helplessly and said. Haha, this little girl, it is a good thing to have justice in your heart, but you can't use this to restrict my personal behavior. I yearn for freedom, want to explore the mysteries of the world, watch the beauty of the world, and then spend my whole life in obscurity with the crew. This is my pursuit, so forgive me for not being able to agree to your invitation. But, I told you, there is no place for you to interrupt here. Tashigi wanted to say something, but Smoker stopped him and yelled again. Don't you really think about it? Smoker glanced at Xia Luo thoughtfully. Xia Luo shook her head and refused. Alas, we have no right to force civilians to join. Since Mr. Xia Luo is not willing, then we will not force it. The following are some personal questions of mine. Can I invite you to have a competition with me? Seeing that the other party had no intention, Smoker also gave up, and then issued an invitation with a solemn expression. Haha, I didn't expect that there would be people coming to ask for a beating. You are worthy of the title of King of Defiance. Now that Lidu has come to the world of pirates, life will not be perfect if Smoker is not allowed to suffer. Xia Luo agreed immediately. The Marines retreated and dispersed, and began to disperse nearby civilians, leaving a large open space on the field, where Smoker and Xia Luo faced off. Xia Luo drew out his swords and took a stance. Those are the famous swords Kusaki and Sakura Ju, but the blades look a little poorly maintained. Tashigi shouted in surprise, then made a sound of pity and distress when he saw the condition of the sword. Aren't these two knives in the hands of the legendary pirate Golden Lion? Why are they here? Then Tashigi looked at Xia Luo doubtfully. Smoker's eyes became sharper after hearing Tashigi's words, and he asked in a slightly cold tone. Xia Luo, what is your relationship with the Golden Lion? Why do you have his double swords? Xia Luo did not feel the slightest panic about the origin of the exposed sword, but instead spoke in a relaxed tone. I took it from a corpse with a sword stuck in its legs. I drifted to a small island and lived there for 5 years. So I would often pick up some supplies on the shore, until one day an uncle with blonde hair drifted to the island. When I wanted to save him, I found that he was dead. In the end, I had to remove the 2 swords from his legs and bury him. Is there any problem with this? Looking at the other party's flawless expression, Smoker couldn't define him as a pirate just because of 2 swords without any evidence, so he stopped asking too much in the end. But I got some good news from Xia Luo's mouth, the big pirate Golden Lion. The son is dead. No, there's no problem, I'm just curious. Xia Luo waved her hand to indicate that Smoker could attack. Suddenly the smoke filled the air, and Smoker's body turned into white smoke and rushed up. White fist. The arms turned into smoke and got rid of the restraints of the body, flying out like bullets. Xia Luo dodged easily with a slight dodge. The dodged white fists began to circle around Xia Luo, and more white mist seemed to swallow up Xia Luo. Xia Luo smiled and didn't care. This move did not pose any threat to him, and he dodged directly behind Smoker. The twin swords covered armament Haki and the entanglement of Conquerors, and blasted out with a slashing wave of brute force. This move is clearly the Armstrong Spin Acceleration Jet Armstrong Spin / used by Xia Luo before to capture the pirate Niji. However, this time it didn't take as long to accumulate power as the previous time, and the Haki that was blessed was only a small amount. So he named it Armstrong Spin and Chop. Xia Luo named his move silently in his heart. Because Smoker knew about the existence of Golden Lion, and the headquarters should also have information about Golden Lion, Xia Luo did not intend to use Golden Lion's sword skills to reveal his identity. The hit Smoker turned into a black shadow and penetrated a house, falling heavily. Colonel Smoker. Tashigi shouted worriedly. How could it be? Colonel Smoker is a person with abilities who ate the Logia devil fruit. Normal attacks cannot touch his body, but how could this happen? Tashigi was still in shock over Smoker being knocked back. In the smoke-filled residential building, Smoker spit out 2 mouthfuls of blood and stood up with difficulty. That was armament Haki just now, wasn't it? I didn't expect that East Blue actually has a new person who masters the armor color. Smoker walked out of the residential building with difficulty leaning against the wall and said in a positive tone. That's right. Xia Luo responded with a smile. Do you want to fight again? No, I am no match for you. If we continue to fight like this, I will still lose. Smoker was silent for a while and then said seriously. I hope you won't turn against Marine. Smoker glanced at Xia Luo fearfully, and then left with Marine. Xia Luo waved at him. Not only the Conqueror's Haki, but also the armament Haki, have you mastered it? Seeing as he just dodged my attack, he should have achieved some success. Having mastered Conqueror's Haki, and having the same strength as the monster just now, he is really a very dangerous person. He must report to Marshal Sengoku immediately. Smoker touched the spot where Xia Luo hit him, and it was still painful. However, Smoker still managed to hold on in front of his men. On the other hand, after Xia Luo defeated Smoker, she also received a notification sound from the system. Ding, the next check-in location is Alabasta. Sign-in will be open in 40 days. Host, please go to the check-in location to sign in. Close black lens bracket. In the past, the increase was 5 days at a time. Why did it take 40 days for the sign-in to open this time? Xia Luo was a little confused, but he just wanted to go somewhere during this time. Chapter 6 The Killer Clan. North Blue. Xia Luo stood on the deck holding a newspaper. The news reported today is quite explosive. The end of the Great Pirate. The legendary pirate Golden Lion Shiki died on the small island of East Blue. Captain Ace of the Spades Pirates failed to challenge Whitebeard. Now he has joined the Whitebeard Pirates as the captain of the second team.
Morgan Gans is so well informed, I'm afraid there are people inside Marine. Xia Luo has known about Ace joining Whitebeard for a long time. The last newspaper also saw reports that Ace was going to challenge Whitebeard. How is Xia Luo? Did you find anything? Nami walked out of the cabin and looked at Xia Luo who was fishing and asked. Xia Luo shook her head. No. It's really ridiculous to talk about a country in fairy tales. If I hadn't seen such things with you, I wouldn't have messed around with you.
Nami looked helpless. 10 days ago, Xia Luo said that she would go to North Blue to find a kingdom called Germa. At first, Nami and others didn't know about the situation in North Blue, so they thought it would be a good idea to go to North Blue to see more. It wasn't until I went to the local area to inquire about the information about the kingdom of Germa that I learned that this was a country in a comic book, that is, a fairy tale. This shocked the girls. Xia Luo actually wanted to find a country that existed in fairy tales. It was impossible no matter how hard she thought.
So they all asked about the situation in the Germa kingdom, and after Xia Luo's explanation, they learned that the Germa 66 were a well-known killer clan in the underground world. The so-called fairy tale is a comic strip produced by the Villains Force based on Germa 66. Then Xia Luo started to clean up the local gangs, and finally after cleaning up several islands, he found a gang who had just cooperated with Germa 66. It was only by following the information given by the other party that Xia Luo finally found this place. Hey, it seems we can only continue searching nearby. If those damn gangsters dare to lie to me, I will uproot all their families when I return. Xia Luo was so angry that her teeth itched. The address given by the gang was the place where the Germa kingdom stayed 2 days ago, but because the Germa kingdom is a movable country. It's really not easy to find them, but with such a large size, it's probably very slow to move. Xia Luo could only let go of the extension of observation Haki, and then kept looking down from high altitude, hoping to find Germa 66. It's up to you, I'm going back to have a beauty sleep. Nami shook his hand and turned around to return to the cabin. Come on, it's boring for me to watch alone here, come and chat with me.
Xia Luo smiled evilly and reached out to grab Nami's wrist, pulled hard and held her in her arms. It's you who wants to find Germa 66, not me. Nami rolled her eyes, already accustomed to Xia Luo's behavior. In this way, a short time passed, and finally Nami couldn't stand Xia Luo's hairy behavior and ran away in confusion. Oh, I'm still young and not open enough. Xia Luo sighed, but she was already satisfied. At least her relationship with Nami had taken a further step forward.
It would be great if there was Nami 2 years later. Although Nami is very plump now, it is much worse than Nami later. Hey, that is. Bored, Xia Luo started to look into the distance and suddenly noticed something unusual. From Xia Luo's field of vision, there was a black spot on the side of the sea, moving slowly. Squinting his eyes and looking over, he saw that he was looking for the target, the kingdom of Germa. Great, I finally found it. Fortunately, those guys didn't lie to me. Then he turned around and immediately returned to the cabin to tell the girls the news. What? Really found it? Karina looked shocked. She had no hope for Xia Luo's action, but she didn't expect that this time a blind cat would run into a dead mouse and he would hit him. That's right, you just stay on the boat. It may be a little dangerous this time. In that case, why don't you bring me with you? My barrier fruit can also help you. Karina was a little unconvinced and felt that Xia Luo underestimated her. The strength of the girls now has improved a lot compared to the beginning. Especially the ability to shield fruits. Karina felt that she could also be counted in the combat force, but Xia Luo actually let her stay on the ship. This was not looking down on her. Hey, the enemy is different this time. The Germa 66 has the ability to fly and fight. I'm worried that they will come to take other people hostage. Just stay on the ship and protect the others. Xia Luo smiled and touched Karina's head, then turned and walked out of the cabin. There is only one reason for searching for the kingdom of Germa this time, and that is the arc reactor. There are many people in the world who can create this thing, but none of them are very difficult to find. It just so happens that the kingdom of Germa is the place that has the ability to build the arc reactor. Moreover, Xia Luo also plans to ask the Germa throne to make a set of combat uniforms for himself and the girls, and upgrade his sword at the same time. Although Deadwood Sakura Judo belongs to the ranks of powerful swords, the effect of vibranium is really good, and it has the property of absorbing shocks. If this energy is incorporated into one's own swords, one's strength will definitely increase greatly. If vibranium could be added to the suit, this impact-absorbing material would definitely be great. Dreaming about a bright future, Xia Luo moved forward faster. As soon as they arrived over the Germa kingdom, alarms started sounding below. Obviously they have already discovered it, but this is also Xia Luo's purpose. Instead of sneaking in and then having a heated conversation with the other person, it's better to have a fight first and then have a good conversation. Germa is not a good person. He will fight with the opponent without equal strength. Cooperation is a dead end. The first thing Xia Luo has to show is his own strength. Only when the other party understands how powerful he is he will not dare to make small moves behind his back. After a while, a large number of soldiers came out of the castle. Then 5 figures of different colors and wearing combat uniforms appeared. It was none other than the ruler of Germa, Vinsmoke Judge and his 4 children. Intruder, what is your purpose here? When Judge saw the person he didn't recognize, but judging from his temperament, he was not a simple person, so he could only tentatively inquire about the situation first. I want the kingdom of Germa to help me build some combat uniforms, and then help me recast my sword. Oh, by the way, if possible, can the pink lady over there let me take her on board? I fell in love with her at first sight. Xia Luo said with a joking tone and a smile. Are you kidding? Do you think Germa is your servant? You actually dare to come and provoke me. I think you are impatient with life. After hearing what Xia Luo said, Judge was furious and made a tic-tac-toe on his forehead. Don't be angry. I'm here with sincerity. I have a research chart of the technology here. I can give this technology to you and also bring it to you. The suit is upgraded. Xia Luo spread her hands and expressed. No matter what skills you brought here, if you dare to provoke Germa, you will only die. Yes, I understand the process. Isn't it just a fight first? Come on. Xia Luo smiled helplessly. She never thought that the other party would agree directly at first, so she simply stated the request directly. Everything will be settled after the fight is over. Vinsmoke Judge is a very cowardly person. When facing danger, he will show his cowardly side, and it will be easier to negotiate terms at that time. The premise is that you are stronger than him. It just so happens that Xia Luo is very powerful now. Chapter 7 Bloodline Factor. Reiju, IG, let him see how powerful Germa is. Judge issued the order calmly, and Reiju and IG immediately entered combat mode after receiving the order. In a flash, he arrived near Xia Luo and surrounded him from left to right. Why don't you come together? Xia Luo said to Judge. Are you looking down on us? Hearing Xia Luo's words about Judge, Izzy felt that he had been underestimated, but he had no emotions as he was emotionless. If you don't come together, then you will lose the ability to resist. Xia Luo shook his head, his tone calm as if he was telling something that was sure to happen. Hey, you can leave now. Xia Luo used Xiao to get behind IG and kicked him into the forest of the kingdom. This kick was merciless, including the weapon color and conquerors, coupled with Xia Luo's monster physique, it almost broke IG's waist. So fast. Everyone present only had this idea, and they didn't dare to push it too far, so everyone entered a fighting state. But now they are still much worse than they were 4 years ago. The only one who can form a fighting force is probably Judge. But at this time, Judge's strength could only reach the level of Marine Vice Admiral. Technical deficiencies have allowed him to rely on technology to reach the level he will be in 4 years. Your strength is still too young now, so please exit first. As he spoke, he had already arrived next to Niji and Yuji. When the two of them were suddenly sweating profusely, but before they could move, their heads were grabbed. Then he pulled it in the middle like a nut, and the two of them fell to the ground, foaming at the mouth. Xia Luo's power is no joke. Although the blood factor modified people are all made of steel, these modified people couldn't withstand the intense Conqueror's Haki.
Niji. Yuji. Reiju yelled worriedly. Don't worry, little sister over there. They're both fine, they just fainted. But I advise you to stay still. I don't want to take action against you. Xia Luo said to Reiju in a relaxed and comfortable tone with a smile on her face. Damn it, Reiju, please step back, this guy is different from others. The judge looked sternly and ordered Reiju to retreat. Reiju did not hesitate to execute the order after receiving the order. No one transformed by blood factors can resist judge's orders. You are different from others. No wonder you have the courage to break into the Germa kingdom. But if you think that Germa only has these powers, you are totally wrong. Clone troop, all come to me. Judge showed an evil smile. In his opinion, no matter how strong the opponent is, they still haven't reached the level of the four emperors, as long as they use people to pile up. The best time to attack is when he shows signs of fatigue. However, his calculations were wrong. He did not predict that Xia Luo would have a monster physique like Charlotte Linlin. Physical strength was the most indispensable thing for him. Human C tactic. It's all useless, but since it's a clone, I won't be merciful. Don't look for me in the future for wasted human resources. Xia Luo pulled out the two swords that he had never used. He didn't even use the swords in the battle just now. He defeated Ig, Niji, and Yangji with just strength and speed. The clone soldiers rushed forward desperately. They had no fear or emotion. Conqueror's Haki's shock had little effect on them. Lion. Thousand Slice Valley. Swish, swish, swish. A series of sharp sword energy that can cut through steel, like a violent wind and rain, traversed the group of replica soldiers at extremely high speed. The clone soldiers are like the fruits in Fruit Ninja, which can be chopped by Xia Luo's sword energy. That's it, armament Haki. You have Haki's ability in a place like Shikai, and that's the move of Golden Lion, right? Who the hell are you? Judge looked shocked. He had only used Haki for a moment when Ig was kicked away, so he hadn't seen clearly yet, but after using both swords just now. You can clearly see the armament Haki covering the two swords, and the strength is not low, and he has mastered the aura of hardening, winding and releasing. Me, Mr. Shiki is my master, maybe, even though we have only been with him for 2 years. Xia Luo looked lost in memories, recalling the scenes Shiki taught her in the past 2 years. I see, the successor of the Golden Lion. I remembered, you are the double swordsman who was reported in the news some time ago. Bounty hunter Xia Luo, right. The report of Golden Lion's death also came from you, right? Quote. Oh, I didn't expect you have heard of my reputation. I thought I had been hiding it well and no one paid attention to it. HMPH, indeed, no one would have thought that the famous bounty hunter would be the successor of the legendary pirate. It's really ironic. Even Marine was fooled by you. Judge became more and more wary of Xia Luo. This man had been hiding, but now he exposed the matter to himself. What did he want to do? Unconsciously, Judge's attitude softened, and he lost the arrogance and domineering attitude at the beginning. Have you calmed down? Then we can talk now. Seeing that Judge's attitude softened, Xia Luo also said with a smile. If you want to conquer Germa 66, I advise you not to think too much about it. Even if I try my best, I won't be able to agree to it. After much deliberation, Judge could only think that Xia Luo came here to subdue Germa 66. Otherwise, there was no need for a man who had been holding back for so long to expose himself just for the sake of a few suits. In Judge's eyes, Xia Luo has become a mastermind who knows how to hide herself. Ha 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 ha, I think you did something wrong. I'm not here to conquer Jair. The Malays are here to cooperate. You should take a look at this first. Xia Luo laughed loudly and then threw a schematic diagram of the arc reactor to Judge. Judge picked up the drawing and looked at it carefully, and after a while he looked shocked. Where did you get this? If this kind of energy design can be added to the suit, the power will be increased by at least 5 times. The drawing designs given by Xia Luo were really exquisite. He had been doing research for many years and he couldn't understand some of the designs, but it didn't stop him from understanding the function of this thing. If you want to know, talk somewhere else. This is not the place to talk. Xia Luo did not answer the question of value. Instead, she proposed to change places and talk slowly. Come with me, Reiju, come with you. After thinking calmly, Judge made a choice. After thinking about what Xia Luo just said, he spoke to Reiju again. Judge ordered the clone soldiers to carry Ig, Niji, and Yangji who fell to the ground for treatment, and then took Xia Luo towards the largest castle. Chapter 8 My Sword. Fight, tell me, what do you have to do to hand over this drawing? Arriving at a conference hall in the castle, Judge asked Xia Luo while sitting in the chair. Haha, didn't I just say that I am here to cooperate? It would be meaningless if King Judge is still talking about how he is not sincere. Xia Luo laughed, feeling amused that Judge wanted to obtain this blueprint in exchange. The value of this blueprint is obvious to all. Especially for a country like Germa 66 that needs to rely on technology to enhance its combat power, it is undoubtedly a sky-high price. Hey, I can leave Reiju to you. I can also make the suit for you, and I can also help you recast the sword you need. That's all. Judge exhaled a heavy breath and surrendered. Father? Reiju was a little shocked. Just now he was curious about why Judge called him to discuss this matter together. He didn't expect that he was just a bargaining chip. Xia Luo shook his head and said loudly, not enough. What? Then what else do you want? Judge was a little angry. He obviously followed the other party's previous request, but I actually regretted it again, but I thought about the importance of this drawing and endured it. Haha, don't be angry, it's just a small request. I can cooperate with you on the arc reactor technology, but if I need new suits in the future, you have to help me make them, but don't worry, it won't be too much. Also, I heard that people transformed by blood factors cannot resist you, right? I need you to lift this order for Reiju. Xia Luo put her face with one hand and looked at Judge playfully, anticipating his reaction.
Reiju was a little surprised. What Xia Luo said didn't seem like a joke. Could it be true that he said he fell in love at first sight from the beginning? Thinking of this, Reiju couldn't help but blush. She is the only reformer among the children of the Vinsmoke family who retains emotions. At the same time, she didn't like staying in the Germa kingdom. Since she couldn't resist her father's orders, she couldn't escape from the Germa kingdom.
She yearned for the sea and freedom, so when she was young, she helped Sanji escape from the kingdom. Judge calmed down a little after hearing Xia Luo's words and thought about Xia Luo's words. If that's all I can promise you. After thinking deeply and calmly, Judge agreed to Xia Luo's request. Reiju, you don't have to listen to my orders from now on. You only need to follow Captain Xia Luo. Judge just issued an order, but this extremely contradictory order was like turning on a switch. Reiju felt that his body suddenly relaxed a lot, and the original thought that Judge could not resist also dissipated. All it took was one word from him to remove the inability of the modified person to resist Judge's order. Well, isn't that right? This is the complete design.
Xia Luo took out the design drawing of the arc reactor and threw it to Judge. The latter held up this precious information and looked at it as if he was a treasure. How long does it take to make the arc reactor from the arc reactor to the production of the suit? Xia Luo asked. I don't know, it could be 1 month, it could be 2 months, it could be a year. Everything must be based on experiments. Judge did not look up at Xia Luo, but looked at the information carefully and casually Kaido. Then Xia Luo took out a small piece of vibranium and threw it over, which attracted Judge's attention. Xia Luo did not take out all the vibranium, but used the system to divide it into 4 pieces. What's this? Judge picked up the piece of metal doubtfully and looked at it carefully in the palm of his hand. This is a special alloy that is extremely hard. Is there any way you can integrate it into my sword and battle suit? Xia Luo did not explain clearly the effect of vibranium, but only mentioned the extremely hard effect of this alloy. Vibranium, also known as sound-absorbing steel, is one of the hardest materials in the Marvel Universe. Although it is not the hardest, it has the ability to absorb kinetic energy in terms of defense. But it is ranked number 1 in the Marvel world. No problem at all. I have the best equipment here to make equipment. No matter how hard the material is, it can melt it. Then how long will it take to make my sword? Leave the sword and I'll help you finish it within 3 days. And this is my phone bug. I'll let you know when it's finished. After hearing this, Xia Luo took out the 2 swords from his waist and threw them. Judge also threw a phone bug to Xia Luo. In that case, I'll just wait for you for 3 days and get the battle uniforms done as soon as possible. After saying that, Xia Luo hugged Reiju and walked towards the door of the conference room, stopping again when she was near the door.
Oh, by the way, you should know that I am Lion Fruit's Esper, right? Xia Luo turned around and said thoughtfully, with a cold light flashing in his eyes. He did not hide his whereabouts when he invaded here, so Judge should have seen him floating in the sky. Combined with his status as the heir of the Golden Lion, Judge can definitely guess that he has consumed the power of the lion fruit.
What do you mean? Judge frowned and didn't understand what Xia Luo meant by saying this. Although I don't understand why Mr. Golden Lion rarely does this kind of thing, I still want to emphasize it.
Lion fruit can control the entire island to take off at any time, and can also control the island to fall down at the same time. So no matter where you hide, I will find you, even if you are in the territory of the 4 emperors or the naval headquarters, you will not be able to escape. You don't want me to drop these small gifts from the sky to you, right? So remember not to add other little tricks in the suit. I will find someone to check it later. If I find anything, don't blame me for not letting you go for Reiju's sake. After saying that, Xia Luo winked at Reiju. At this time, Judge did not know that this was a threat from Xia Luo, but he just snorted coldly. HMPH, since I agreed to cooperate with you, I will definitely not cause any obstacles in it. You will know when the time comes when you build it yourself and give it a try. That's good. I'm very happy to have this happy cooperation. King Judge, I will be looking for you if there are new technologies in the future. Xia Luo waved and walked out with a smile on her face. She held Reiju's hand tightly and let him stick to her body. Then used Lion Fruit's ability to fly to the Dao in the sky. After Xia Luo left, Judge showed an expression of obsession and madness. Such a sophisticated energy technology is even more sophisticated than that guy from Vegapunk. This is no longer a technology that can be thought of today. It is simply an energy technology that was thought of 1,000 years ahead of the world.
Judge, who was obsessed with the arc reactor design, couldn't help but murmured. On the other side, Xia Luo took Reiju back to the sailboat. As soon as they landed, several women came up to ask about Xia Luo's condition. Xia Luo, are you okay? Nami rushed forward immediately and kept touching Xia Luo to see if there was any injury. It's okay, don't worry. Didn't I say that my strength is worthy of anyone in the world or paradise? Xia Luo looked at Nami with a gentle expression. After spending this time together, Beauty was forced on board from the beginning, to trust and then to the intimacy now. Nami already regards Xia Luo as one of her valued, family members.
Huh? Who is she? Only then did Nami realize that Reiju was being held by Xia Luo. Just now, because she was worried about Xia Luo. So the first time he came up, he only looked at Xia Luo and didn't care about Reiju he was holding. Now after calming down, I found that Xia Luo was actually holding another woman in his arms. This made Nami a little angry. She glanced at Reiju with a hostile look, then grabbed Xia Luo's waist and told her with her eyes. Okay, you Xia Luo, I have been worrying about you here for so long, and you actually ran out to find other women. Hello, my name is Vinsmoke Reiju, and I will be Captain Xia Luo's man from now on. Reiju spoke in an intimate tone, with an ambiguous expression on his face, and rested his head lightly on Xia Luo's shoulder. What Xia Luo people, the crew is the crew, you are the youngest, get to the back of the queue.
Reiju's words seemed to irritate Nami and she was instantly irritated. Chapter 90, Women are so difficult to understand. Haha, Captain Xia Luo said that he fell in love with me at first sight when he saw me, and he even specifically asked me to be on his ship in terms of cooperation. Reiju held his chin with one hand, smiled shyly, and continued to provoke Nami without taking it too seriously. What, Xia Luo, you bastard LSP, you eat from the bowl and look at the pot all day long, right? Don't come to me again. Nami was furious and was about to push Xia Luo away and walk to the cabin. How dare Xia Luo let her go? He immediately held her in his arms and comforted her. It's nothing. I felt the most sorry for you Nami that time. I didn't think there were many people around so I could find you some friends to relieve your boredom. Xia Luo smiled helplessly and comforted him with sweet words for a long time. In the end, the young Nami was still no match for LSP Xia Luo, and fled back to the cabin with a blush. In such a large audience, with her sister also present, Nami was still thin-skinned. Reiju, you too, this look doesn't suit you. Once you get along with Nami for some time, you will know that she is not a bad person either. Haha, what kind of person does Captain Xia Luo think is suitable for me? Reiju acted more charming. Just like it is in normal times, you can visit here first. I will take you back to our base later. After all, we have to stay here for 3 days. Xia Luo let go of Reiju. He was really afraid that he couldn't help but carry Reiju directly back to the captain's cabin. Yes, Captain Xia Luo. Reiju chuckled. Hello, Sister Reiju, I am Kaya, the ship's doctor on this ship. Please take care of me in the future. Kaya smiled, walked up and held Reiju's hand. You are Kaya. Xia Luo just told me about you, saying that you are the little angel on his ship. He can come to you whenever he is sick. Reiju said with a gentle look on his face. Kaya and Nokigao were not as hostile to Reiju as Nami was, and they quickly became familiar with each other. All I can say is that he is worthy of Reiju. He has a gentle personality, elegant manners, and is sociable. He has a straight face.
Hey, you guys don't really have a crush on her, so you went all the way to North Blue to find her. Karina walked up to Xia Luo and bumped his stomach with her elbow, lowering her voice and asking curiously. Log in to earn coins. Hey, what are you talking about? I didn't catch you on the boat just because I fell in love with you. I knew you were really stubborn. You didn't do anything to the beautiful women on the ship, but you still went to find them outside. Karina said with a speechless expression. Hey, are you talking about you? Speaking of which, I remember someone promised me that she would give me a reward as long as she went shopping with her, but I don't know who forgot about it. Xia Luo smiled evilly, and Karina, who was almost named, retorted with a red face. Oh, isn't it just a reward? There's nothing to worry about. I'll just make it up to you later. No, I want it now. Well, the bathtub in the new bathroom of this ship is quite big, but it's been quite lonely for me to take a bath by myself. Why don't we take a bath together? Just think of it as a little reward for me. After all, just carry it. Hey, let's change the reward or something. It's still broad daylight. Let's wait until night to take a bath or something. Karina blushed and spoke in Xia Luo's ear with an extremely weak voice.
Xia Luo ignored what Karina said and walked straight into the cabin. Nokigao on the side noticed the situation there, but just chuckled and watched away. An hour passed. Xia Luo opened the bathroom door, and the mist of hot water filled the room. The two walked out of the bathroom. Karina's face was blushing and a little shy. I didn't know you had learned all these weird things. Hee hee, If you weren't already tired, it wouldn't be a problem to wash for a few more hours. Karina rolled her eyes at him and turned back to her room. In fact, he has the physique of a steel balloon, plus the ability to absorb energy from food. In the case of equal strength, even fighting the 4 emperors or Marine Admiral for 10 days and 10 nights is nothing. It is estimated that Marine Admiral and others will die first from exhaustion in the end. Xia Luo went back to her room, changed her clothes and walked to the hall. At this time, there was laughter in the hall. Reiju, Nami, and Nuaochi Gaozhong didn't know what they were talking about, but everything was peaceful. Xia Luo looked at this scene in surprise. Nami, who was at odds with Reiju just now, was talking to Reiju with a smile on her face. What is going on? Xia Luo looked confused. Reiju on the opposite side noticed his arrival first and winked at him. Good guy, you are indeed a woman with a lot of sociability. A young man like Nami is still too young to fight with you. At this time, others also discovered Xia Luo's arrival. Xia Luo, you're here. Where have you been? I can't find you, and neither can Karina. Nami saw it and moved forward happily. I just felt a little hot and took a shower. Karina is probably a little tired and went back to her room to rest. As that's so, is the weather very hot? It feels good.
Nami felt a little strange, but she didn't care and said happily. Speaking of which, why did your relationship with Reiju suddenly become so good? Nami's face suddenly turned red after being questioned by Xia Luo, and she pushed him to go to Nuo Kagao. It's nothing, you don't need to know about girls' topics. Xia Luo walked to sit down next to Reiju with a puzzled look on her face, and then asked quietly. What did you say to Nami? How could you get it done so quickly? Reiju smiled mysteriously and said something similar to Nami's. It's better that you don't get involved in girls' secrets. TCH, if you don't tell me, don't tell me. Xia Luo turned her head and stopped asking. Brother Xia Luo, come and try my newly researched pudding. Kaya pushed a small dining cart and walked over with a plate of pudding. Looks like it tastes pretty good, thanks Kaya. Xia Luo took it, picked one up with a fork and threw it into his mouth, then showed a happy smile. Sister Nami, please come and try it too. Kaya picked up the pudding from the dining car and handed it to the other girls. Sister Kaya's craftsmanship has improved again, and the desserts are becoming more and more delicious. Nokagao praised directly. Indeed, this is the best dessert I have ever tasted. Reiju praised it without hesitation after tasting it. No, it's still far behind Sister Nuaochigao's cooking skills. After all, Brother Xia Luo said that Sister Nuokagao has reached an advanced level of cooking, and I'm still at the intermediate level.
Kaya was a little shy after being praised. Speaking of which, I'm a little curious, were all of you chefs originally?
Reiju asked curiously. From what she said from Nami in the previous conversation, she learned that everyone has a hobby of cooking food, and was a little curious about Xia Luo's approach to finding so many chefs. I can only be regarded as a chef who became a monk on the way. That guy Xia Luo has a big appetite, so he has no choice but to learn cooking skills. Otherwise, Nuo Kagao will be very tired cooking alone. Nami took a nice bite of pudding and replied, I see, Reiju thought thoughtfully. Yoshi, get ready to make dinner. Let's go back to the island first. After finishing the pudding, Xia Luo stood up, stretched and walked out of the cabin. Huh? Are there other islands nearby? Do you want to return to the kingdom of Germa? Reiju was a little curious and asked Nami next to him. You'll know soon, and it will definitely shock your jaw. Nami pretended to be mysterious and didn't answer, just put on a smile. As Xia Luo controlled the ship, it flew higher and higher, passing through the thick clouds and reaching the top of the clouds. Reiju walked out of the cabin and was shocked by the scene in front of him. This is Marine Base, Chapter 10 Nami's Awakening. What appeared above the clouds was Marine Base Branch 16. Sure enough, that thing reported a few days ago was what you did, Reiju said in a positive tone. If you're talking about the Marine Branch 16 in East Blue, that's right, we did it. Xia Luo responded with a slight smile. Why do you do this? Aren't you afraid of Marine's revenge? Reiju asked doubtfully. In her opinion, as for islands, she only needs to find an uninhabited island. Why choose the eye-catching marine base? It's a long story, but those marine guys are also hypocritical. They clearly got the information but didn't publish it. Then Xia Luo told Reiju the story of Nami and why she wanted to attack Marine. I see, it's for Nami-san. Captain Xia Luo is really a good captain who thinks about the crew. Is this the so-called anger for beauty?
After hearing the explanation, Reiju suddenly became enlightened and joked. That's right, as long as anyone dares to bully my crew, I will do whatever it takes. To get revenge on him, even if Marine comes, it will be useless. Quote. If he pissed me off, I would just use a dozen giant islands to sink his naval headquarters. It would be useless for anyone to stop him. Faced with Reiju's teasing, Xia Luo spat out extremely terrifying words unhurriedly. At this moment, Reiju deeply felt the protection of the man in front of him. Haha, you are really a responsible captain. Please pay more attention to him in the future. Reiju raised the corner of his mouth slightly and stretched out his palm.
Xia Luo was stunned for a moment, then held Reiju's hand and smiled. I thought it would be a while before you would actually get on the ship. Haha, actually I originally wanted to wait for a chance to escape secretly when we landed. Reiju clasped his right hand to cover his mouth and chuckled, not caring what Xia Luo would think after hearing this. Then why are you confessing now? Xia Luo was a little surprised and didn't understand what she had done to make the girl in front of her admit herself. There is no reason. The atmosphere on the boat is very good. This atmosphere of freedom is the life I want. I can cook and chat with my companions every day, go to see the beautiful scenery around the world, and live a free life. Reiju walked to the side of the boat and leaned on the guardrail, took a deep breath, and looked at the sea below through the clouds with a softer expression. And I don't have anywhere else to go. Instead of drifting in the sea, it wouldn't be a bad idea to stay with you. Xia Luo walked over and hugged Reiju's waist, winked at her and gave her a thumbs up. Captain Xia Luo, do you usually treat the crew like this? Reiju smiled and pointed to the palm he held around his waist. That's right. This is harassment. Reiju smiled and took away Xia Luo's palm. What kind of harassment? This is my care for the crew. I treat every crew member equally. Xia Luo crossed her arms and spoke righteously. Well, I finally understand what Nami-chan said about you being annoying sometimes. Reiju said with some distress. What? What did Nami-chan say about me? Xia Luo looked shocked, which made Reiju chuckle at the side. Soon, the sailboat landed in the harbor. Welcome to our secret base, Longyu Island. Xia Luo opened her arms and said to Reiju in a showy manner. Huh? When did you even have a name? Nami asked in surprise. Even she didn't know that the base had changed its name. Ha ha ha, just now, we can't keep calling this island the Marine Branch, so we just gave the island a name. Come on Reiju, I'll show you around here. Nami and the others have to make dinner, so don't disturb them yet. Xia Luo laughed, then took Reiju's hand and took her around the island. Actually, I also want to cook with Nami-chan and the others. It would be very interesting. Reiju hesitated before speaking out his plan. Ahem, don't be in a hurry. There will be plenty of time in the future, so let me take you to get familiar with this island first. I will teach you how to cook when I have time later. Can Captain Xia Luo still cook? Reiju was a little curious. You don't know this, right? In fact, Nami and Karina both. He's the chef I taught you. Xia Luo folded her arms with a proud look on her face and attributed the credit for the advanced cooking book to herself. I'm impressed by Captain Xia Luo. Reiju clapped his hands and chuckled. The man in front of me is really easy to understand. He is a little narcissistic and likes to pretend. He is very decisive and neat when fighting, and he is extremely protective of his companions. We need to add another LSP attribute. But he is a really good captain. Reiju thought this in his heart, and the smile on his face became brighter. Then Xia Luo took his hand and began to slowly explain the facilities on the island. However, when Xia Luo introduced the crew training room, he was still surprised. Is this the key to your becoming stronger? Reiju asked in surprise. He stepped forward and touched the door, feeling a little weird. That's right, now Nami, Nokagao, and Karina will all train here. In addition to learning medical skills every day, Kaya will also train here for a while. But starting from tomorrow, you will also be a member of this place, and I will do my best to teach you how to become stronger. Quote. After talking about it, Xia Luo's expression also became serious. He has always been very strict in teaching his crew to become stronger. That's really exciting. Ha ha ha. Reiju, your physical fitness is much higher than that of Nami and others, so you can practice a lot. I will personally teach you the application of armament Haki, as well as observation Haki, as well as the methods of Marine 6 styles and moonwalk. These are techniques that will be more commonly used in actual combat in the future. Xia Luo talked about the training plan for Reiju. Oh, by the way, if you want to learn cooking, you can also learn here. After all, it has the effect of getting twice the result with half the effort. Later Nami will give you an advanced cooking book to learn from. Suddenly, he remembered that Reiju was also interested in cooking, and then gave him instructions. Do you get twice the result with half the effort? What a magical devil fruit ability. Reiju whispered. We've almost finished introducing the facilities on this island. Now let's go back and try the feast they made. Xia Luo held Reiju in her arms and flew towards the restaurant. The big table in the restaurant was already filled with all kinds of exquisite food. Xia Luo's eyes flashed and she rushed forward. Hey, you guy, wash your hands before eating. Karina grabbed Xia Luo's face. At this time, Xia Luo felt like he had eaten a rubber devil fruit. His face stretched but it did not affect his eating speed at all. Karina-chan, the food you made is so delicious, I can't help but give you a taste first. Xia Luo couldn't speak clearly as she ate, and there was still a piece of sea animal meat in her mouth that she hadn't swallowed. A hash mark appeared on Karina's head, and Xia Luo felt a chill go down her spine, and her perspective kept shaking like an ocean. You just want to steal some food. Wash your hands and wait for us to finish. Xia Luo was thrown directly in front of the sink. Facing Karina's roar, he swallowed the meat in his mouth, stood up, washed his hands, and sat quietly at the table. Reiju chuckled lightly when he saw this,
then washed his hands and sat next to Xia Luo. This kind of atmosphere is the life she has always longed for, but it can never be realized in the kingdom of Germa. Nami announced the start of dinner as the last dish was served. Xia Luo began to ravage the food on the table with a storm-inhaling posture. The girls also smiled when they saw that Xia Luo liked the food she cooked so much. After dinner, Xia Luo suggested swimming in the swimming pool, which was unanimously approved by others. Late at night, the door to Xia Luo's room opened quietly. A petite figure quietly walked in from behind the door. The figure walked to Xia Luo's bed and was eager to step forward several times, but was a little timid. Finally, he seemed to have thought of something, and finally bravely pounced on him. Chapter 11 Marine 6 Styles Teaching. Early morning. Xia Luo woke up from her sleep, and Nami was still sleeping beside her. Haha, Reiju, is this what you call a secret between girls? I have to say, well done. Xia Luo showed a gentle smile and stroked Nami's hair. Nami, who was sleeping soundly, seemed to feel something and murmured. No, Xia Luo, please find Karina and sister Nuoki Gao. I really can't do it anymore. Hee, you little brat, no matter how brave you are, now you know you were afraid. Xia Luo smiled proudly, then put on her clothes and walked out of the room. When I walked to the hall, the other women had woken up early and were cooking in the kitchen. Reiju, who was drinking coffee at the dining table, smiled brightly when he saw Xia Luo arriving. Xia Luo glared at her. Wake up, you and Nami both woke up so late today. Karina walked up to him with a plate of breakfast, put it down, and asked curiously. Who doesn't want to sleep in? Nami is probably sleeping in too. Xia Luo ate like it was none of her business, while Reiju just smiled and said nothing. Is that so? That's really rare. Karina scratched her head. It's time for you to start your cultivation to the next level. I will personally teach you how to practice after breakfast later. Xia Luo immediately changed the topic and focused it on Nami. By the way, are there any craftsmen in Reiju and Germa Kingdom? Xia Luo looked at Reiju as if thinking of something and asked. Yes, the Kingdom of Germa has its own craftsman group. Why do you ask? Reiju was a little confused. Is Xia Luo trying to build something? Don't we have to stay here for a few more days? It just so happens that this island needs craftsmen to renovate and dismantle some of Marine's equipment. Also remove the obstructive Marine logo. You may need to talk to your father about this, but I don't think he will refuse. No problem, I'll go right away. Xia Luo showed off all the food on the table in one breath, and then flew out quickly. Hey, there's still a lot of breakfast, don't you plan to finish it? Let's eat when I get back. Xia Luo didn't look back, and her figure quickly swooped towards the Germa kingdom. Arriving at the castle gate, the clone soldiers also recognized Xia Luo. He immediately went in and informed Judge. After a while, Judge came out with red eyes. What's the matter again? You didn't stay up all night studying the arc reactor, did you? Xia Luo looked at Judge with a strange expression. Now Judge looked like a sloppy uncle. With red eyes and messy hair, he looked like he had just come out of a garbage dump. If you are just here to see this, then I will continue to study it. Judge looked unhappy and turned back to the laboratory. He has no time to pay attention to Xia Luo now. When he officially started researching it yesterday, the more he devoted himself to it, the more he could feel the charm of the arc reactor. Now he is fully devoted to the experiment. Hey, don't, I have something to ask you to help me with. Xia Luo immediately stopped in front of him and hugged Judge's shoulders with a smile. Acting like a good buddy. What's the matter? Judge said impatiently. I heard Reiju say that you have a craftsman group here, right? My island just needs to be renovated, so I want to borrow some people from you to renovate the architecture of my island. Just these little things. That's all. Judge sighed, and then ordered the clone soldiers to find the craftsman group. Don't bother me with my research if there's no big deal in the future. If you have anything to do, just ask Reiju to come down and arrange it. After Judge said a word, he turned around and left, continuing to devote himself to his experiments. Xia Luo shrugged. He was so straightforward, it seemed that the arc reactor was still very attractive to him. Well, since it's all up to Reiju, I won't be polite. Xia Luo used his sense of perception to sense the sea area and found no life forms before placing the island down. Since being photographed by Newsbird last time in Dragon Park, Xia Luo has been extremely careful about this kind of thing. If this was filmed, wouldn't it be a big deal? After the team of clone craftsmen were all on the island, Xia Luo lifted the island into the air again to avoid staying too long. After Xia Luo arranged the design, Nami was already up. After breakfast, returned to the sailboat to start today's training. But Nami's face was still a little blushing, and she was obviously a little shy about her bold move last night. However, Xia Luo ignored her shyness and continued to chat with Nami as usual. Arriving at the practice room, Xia Luo let go of Nami and his expression became serious. This was his usual style of teaching practice. Okay, now that it's all expired, I'll start talking. Seeing Xia Luo's face become serious, everyone also entered the state and began to listen attentively. First, let's talk about the training methods of Marine 6 styles and Moonwalk. Marine 6 styles can be said to be a very effective physical training for the subsequent practice of Haki. It is also closely related to Haki. It can be called an introductory tutorial for Haki. But unfortunately, I only know two of them, shaving and moonwalk. Shaving is achieved through the rebound force generated by stepping on the ground in rapid succession to achieve rapid movement speed. Speaking of this, Xia Luo stopped and demonstrated to the girls. Call out. In an instant, Xia Luo's figure arrived at another place, leaving only an afterimage that disappeared. Although this principle is very simple, it requires very strong control over the posture and the speed and rhythm of the force. The next step is moonwalk. Moonwalk can be said to be a variant of shaving, but its training requirements are much more difficult than shaving.
Xia Luo once again demonstrated the use of moonwalk.
Moonwalk uses a high speed to step on the air during the jump, thereby changing the movement trajectory in the air. It can also be used to lift into the air for air combat. Generally speaking, once you have practiced shaving, you can basically use moonwalk, but with moonwalk you can master the direction of movement and rhythm of stepping in the air. I don't know the remaining 6 moves, but I can teach you the principles of the other 6 moves. The first is the Tempest Kick. The Tempest Kick uses high-speed kicking skills to create a vacuum around it, thus forming an air slash. It is roughly like blowing up with a straw, and the air shoots out from the other side. With that said, Xia Luo wanted to demonstrate the kicking technique again. Call out. Xia Luo's kick seemed to create a sonic boom, and huge air slashes flew out. Chapter 12 Observation Haki's Training. Forehead.
Even Xia Luo herself was confused. She turned around and looked at the girls, her eyes seeming to say, "Is this what you said?" Ahem, no, it's probably because my physical strength is enough, and shaving and moonwalk are both training on the legs, so after learning the first 2, it's not that difficult to learn Tempest Kick, but you also know, I am a swordsman, and I generally don't use my feet to cut out sword energy. Xia Luo coughed twice and demonstrated awkwardly. Just now she said she didn't know how to do it, but she tried it on the spot. It felt a bit like Versailles.
The main reason is that Xia Luo's physique is too strong. After reaching the standard, he can easily learn it after knowing the principles.
Finally, let's talk about the remaining items. Finger pistol condenses the whole body's blood on the fingers to make them extremely hard. It is as powerful as a pistol, but it is useless, so I recommend not learning it. Iron body is similar to finger pistol, but it speeds up the blood flow in the body, speeds up muscle movement, and makes the muscles harder. However, you cannot move when using this move. Using this move in the Grand Line is tantamount to seeking death. Who should use it? Whose dead move? Paper arts is more interesting. It is a way to release all the strength from the whole body, making the person float in the wind like paper. You need to feel the airflow of the opponent's attack to dodge.
But paper arts has a key point in practicing observation Haki. That is the perception of the flow of air around you. Learning observation Haki also requires perception, and perception of anything.
Seeing Xia Luo talking about Haki, several people listened even more attentively, for fear of missing any details. Observation Haki is also a magical power. It can sense the surrounding life forms and the enemy's attack position en route.
Some special forms of knowledge can perceive human emotions, and those who have cultivated to the highest level can even predict the future. Predict future. The girls were all surprised when they heard what Xia Luo said about the profound observation Haki ability. Yes, there are observation Haki users in this world who have learned to predict the future. Xia Luo said calmly, while Reiju looked thoughtful.
The powerful person you were talking about who can predict the future should be Charlotte Katakuri, the second son of 4 emperors Charlotte Linlin, right? Yes, there are not many observation Haki users who can predict the future. There is probably only one person among the 4 emperors who can use it. Xia Luo nodded and admitted. 4 emperors. The other girls except Reiju were a little curious about who the 4 emperors were. It deserves the attention of Xia Luo and Reiju. Reiju looked at Xia Luo with a puzzled look. In his opinion, Xia Luo knew about the 4 emperors and should have told a few girls about this. Unexpectedly, these women didn't even know about the famous 4 emperors of the Grand Line. Ahem, the 4 emperors are the 4 legendary great pirates, namely the Pirate King Roger. After the death of Roger, the sea fell into chaos, and the Grand Line became the hardest hit area by pirates. Countless people wanted to go to sea to find the One Piece. In the end, the world government was unable to stop this violent era and drove the pirates into the second half of the Grand Line. That place is now also called the New World. Strong men are everywhere in the New World, but among them, there are the 4 most powerful pirate emperors. They're called the 4 emperors. Then Xia Luo told them about the origin of the 4 emperors, and the girls were like country bumpkins, and then they realized how vast the sea was. They knew Whitebeard. They had heard the name Whitebeard when they were young. Even this name was used by adults to scare children. Over time, people had become familiar with Whitebeard's name. Unexpectedly, he is one of the 4 emperors in the second half of the Grand Line, and is also known as the strongest man in the world. I didn't expect that the big pirate Whitebeard they talked about when I was young was actually the 4 emperors, Karina said with emotion, showing a knowledgeable look. Okay, that's not what you should be thinking about now. You should seize the time to improve your strength. When we get to the Grand Line, I will find a devil fruit for Nami that is very suitable for her.
Xia Luo interrupted the women's sighs. Ah, devil fruit. Let's forget it. I feel like practicing physical skills is quite good now. If you eat devil fruit, you will become a landlubber. Who will save you if you fall into the water in the future? Nami thought of the scene when Karina ate the devil fruit. A drop of cold sweat fell from her head and she said with a forced smile. It's different. My devil fruit ability has no side effects, and the fruit I chose for you is the strongest devil fruit among the 3 fruits. Xia Luo shook his head and explained. How is it possible? Demon fruit power is a human being cursed by the sea. No one can escape the curse of the sea. How did you make the fruit have no side effects? Reiju looked at Xia Luo in shock. The words the other party just said were too devastating to her cognition. Everyone knows that devil fruit is cursed by the sea, and any person with abilities will become weak in the sea.
And you cannot eat 2 devil fruit at the same time, otherwise you will explode and die. This is a recognized fact in the sea. No one dares to try to eat 2 devil fruit to verify its authenticity.
Hehe, this is my secret. There will be no other person in the world who can use devil fruit's ability without side effects. Xia Luo smiled mysteriously and did not explain how her devil fruit ability without side effects came from. At this time, Karina couldn't stand it anymore. In this way, she was the only one in the group who was really influenced by Haimazukage. Karina ran to Xia Luo and hugged his arm. Captain Xia Luo, please tell me. I am the only demon fruit power in the group now. What will happen if I fall into the sea? Karina said seductively to Xia Luo in a cooing voice. This frightened Xia Luo so much that he trembled. He really couldn't stand Carly. Na's voice. Okay, I told you that you can't get rid of the side effects of devil fruit. This is all because of my physical constitution. My constitution has erased the curse of devil fruit.
After getting the answer, Karina returned to her original place and sat down with a disappointed look on her face.
She knew something about Xia Luo's physique. His monster-like strength and physical strength allowed him to fight without sleep for more than 10 days. She admits that she does not have this quality. But Reiju obviously didn't believe it, but he didn't ask too much. Then let's start practicing first. Reiju, I will teach you how to use Haki. The others will practice Sha and Moonwalk first. If there's anything you don't understand, just ask me. After saying that, Xia Luo took Reiju to another open space. Xia Luo asked, do you want to practice observation Haki or armament Haki? Reiju thought about it. Kaido. Observation Haki. Observation Haki, it's very difficult. Observation Haki requires cultivation talent, but you can master it in the training room one day, ha ha ha. Xia Luo smiled, and also gave a little reminder to Reiju's choice of observation Haki, which was more difficult. Then he took out a white cloth from the space, walked behind Reiju and covered her personally. Captain Xia Luo, are you going to play something? Reiju tilted his head in confusion. Xia Luo was ashamed. What was this woman thinking about all day long? Ahem, this is the prerequisite for practicing observation Haki. Next, you have to sense my attack and dodge it. Xia Luo took out a small branch and circled it around Reiju.
I see. Blindfold your eyes to predict the attack through your body's perception.
Here we come. Xia Luo waved slowly with a small branch. The attack whip hit Reiju's body, and the latter gritted his teeth without making any sound.
I practiced like this all day long. Clatter. The attack was empty.
It seems that I have found some feelings. Looking at the somewhat panting Reiju, he said happily. Well, it's also thanks to the captain's teachings. Reiju took off the cloth from his eyes and smiled. Kaido. The two looked at each other and smiled. Let's go. Nami and the others have probably prepared dinner. I didn't expect you to last so long. It seems that the physique of Germa's modified people is indeed extraordinary. Well, there is always a price to pay for a strong acquired physique. After all, I don't have a monster physique like you, Captain Xia Luo, but now this price has been lifted by you. Haha, I took it as your compliment. As they walked, Xia Luo suddenly started to be dishonest again, hugged Reiju and lowered her head and asked intimately. It didn't hurt you just now, did it? Do you want to go to my room tonight and let me rub it for you? No need, Captain, you also know that the physique of my transformed human is made of steel and iron. This kind of attack will recover quickly for me. Reiju smiled and refused. Why didn't you give in to Nami when you started to give in? Now you're scared alone. Xia Luo did not give up and instead used the aggressive method.
Haha, I don't understand what Captain Xia Luo is talking about.
Reiju started to act stupid and turned away. Forget it, I won't bother with you this time. He returned to the restaurant. Sure enough, Nami and the others had prepared a sumptuous dinner. Captain Xia Luo, we have almost eaten the food we prepared before, and we need to replenish some. Nuo Chigao walked to Xia Luo and said sadly. No problem. I will hunt some Poseidon beasts later and then go to the Germa kingdom to replenish some supplies.
Reiju, it's up to you to purchase some supplies. You are familiar with Germa.
Xia Luo patted Reiju on the shoulder. Judge said, if you need anything, just let Reiju know.
Then there's nothing wrong with buying some supplies for free without giving money. Chapter 13. Entering the Grand Line Day 3 at North Blue, Clatter.
Xia Luo swung but Reiju dodged it. You are still very quick at understanding what you see and hear, and you can already sense my attack now.
Xia Luo smiled and looked at Reiju, who continuously dodged his attacks. Haha, that's all. If the captain attacks with all his strength, I won't be able to keep up with my current knowledge and perception. That's not bad. Although with the blessing of the training room, observation Haki has mastered the basics in 3 days and will gradually become stronger through continuous practice in the future. The first stage of training Reiju to see and hear the color has ended, and Xia Luo is also retracting the twig. Reiju, who sensed Xia Luo's movement, also took off the cloth. Is it time to start training in armed color now? Reiju's eyes revealed a confident smile. The past few days of practice have made her truly feel her improvement. This kind of improvement can directly increase the combat power of different suits. Instead, it began to become stronger than before. Well, the practice of seeing, hearing, and sex can come to an end. After that, I can practice slowly. I can practice against Nami and the others. Xia Luo looked at Reiju with relief. Blue brew brew. A burst of phone calls interrupted the daily routine of practice. Hello? Kid, your sword has been forged, you can come down and get it. Judge's voice came from the phone, and there was clearly a hint of fatigue in his voice. Right away. The two looked at each other and then flew off the renovated Longyu Island. Arriving at the castle gate, Judge was already waiting here. When he saw Xia Luo coming, he swung the 2 swords and threw them over. Xia Luo took the dead tree and Sakura pulled it out to check. The cold light was sharp and the blade was like autumn frost. The appearance is still the same as before, and it doesn't feel unfamiliar when used. Thank you, it is indeed Germa's handiwork. Xia Luo praised it without hesitation. Sure enough, after hearing Xia Luo's praise, Judge's body stagnated and he said proudly. Germa's technology is one of the best in the world, and he can easily build swords. But the metal you gave me is strange. It has the ability to absorb energy. Ordinary flames really can't attack it. Xia Luo took out a piece of vibranium again and threw it over. This thing is not easy to get. It is an extraterrestrial product, a substance extracted from meteorites. Are this and the rest still enough to make the few suits I need? Judge picked up the vibranium, frowned and thought for a moment. That should be enough. By the way, I almost forgot to mention that one of the suits needs to be able to store electricity. The function of storing electricity is not that Judge has not designed it. Niji's suit has the function of storing electricity and releasing it. But the design of storing electricity would be incompatible with the design of the arc reactor. Since we have the arc reactor, why do we need to add the design of storing energy through electricity? Niji is a little confused about Xia Luo's thoughts. Yes, but the arc reactor you gave has power supply. Energy charging function. Quote. I see, then let's maximize the power storage of this suit. This suit will be of great use to me. Do you want to use it? Judge asked curiously. No? Okay, got it. Since it wasn't used by Xia Luo, it must have been used by the women on his ship. It's nothing, so I'll do my own research. I guess it will take some time for the research results to come out. Judge turned and left without any regret. Has your father always been such a scientific lunatic? Xia Luo turned to look at Reiju next to her. Looking at Judge looking like this, he probably hasn't showered for 3 days and 3 nights, and his hair is already in such a mess. Coupled with the intense use of eyes, the eyes were full of bloodshot eyes. It's usually not like this. Maybe the thing you gave him is attractive enough to make him forget about food and sleep. Reiju shrugged. Well, after staying for 3 days, it's time to set sail again. We are finally heading to the Grand Line. Xia Luo took Reiju back to Longyu Island and informed the other girls that they were about to start sailing again. The target this time is the Grand Line. After hearing the news, the women were very excited and immediately packed up their things and came to the boat. With Xia Luo's order, the sailing ship set sail again. 5 days later, thanks to Nami's superb sailing skills, we finally arrived at Upside Down Mountain. Is this the entrance to the Great Route, Upside Down Mountain? It's so spectacular. Looking at the water flowing upstream, everyone couldn't help but sigh. The water flow here is very fast, and some of the water flows back after hitting the mountain wall, while the seawater flowing into the waterway literally reaches the sky. Xia Luo and Reiju, who had already known each other for a long time, did not change their expressions. The former had seen the animation, and the latter had already been here. Speaking of which, do you have any dreams of entering the Grand Line? Nami asked everyone with a smile. My dream is to draw a map of the world, then I will become the best ship doctor in the world. Kaya folded her hands and smiled softly. Dream? Karina said thoughtfully, then her eyes turned into section. Become the richest person in the world, and then live the most enjoyable life, hee. What a cheesy dream. I want you to take care of it. Where are you, Xia Luo? Nami turned to look at Xia Luo and asked. Me, didn't I tell you about my dream? Xia Luo scratched his head and asked doubtfully. I want to travel around the world, eat delicious food from all over the world, become the strongest man and challenge all the masters in the world, and then find pure gold that can make me immortal, and then spend a long and happy life with you. Xia Luo grinned and spoke of her grand dream. Ha! When the girls heard Xia Luo's dream, their mouths opened slightly, and they all uttered surprises. This dream of yours is quite difficult. Reiju covered his mouth and chuckled. But I will definitely make it happen. Xia Luo said with a confident smile.
After hearing Xia Luo's confident words, everyone recovered from the shock. My dream, my purpose of going to sea is actually just to travel around. Now I guess I want to become the best cook on the ship, right? Nuo Chigao held her chin with one hand and looked thoughtful, then smiled and said. I want to live a free life, but now, I have achieved it. The next arrangements are all up to you, Captain Xia Luo. Reiju showed a gentle smile and talked about the dream that had been buried in his heart. But that is no longer a dream, it is already her reality. Haha, now that I have fulfilled a dream, I am looking for one. Nami, let's charge. Aim for the Grand Line. Xia Luo raised her arms and shouted, pointing in the direction of Upside Down Mountain, the entrance to the Great Route. Nami operated the boat towards Upside Down Mountain, and the rapid current made it impossible for them to turn back. But she has trust in Xia Luo. No matter what problem occurs, Xia Luo can solve it. The sailboat surged forward with the current. Hurry up and put the canvas away. The waterway is too narrow. If you continue like this, you may hit someone. Of the wall. Quote. Nami gave the order calmly. Xia Luo came under the mast, grabbed the rope and pulled hard, and the open canvas slowly folded up. The vessel then entered the waterway under Nami's control. Woohoo! Great route, here we come. Xia Luo stood on the bow of the boat, feeling the strong wind and shouting. The high-speed upward current drives the boats upstream together. At this time, Nami's navigation technology has improved much faster than in the original work. Coupled with the strong physique gained from training, operating this sailboat is still a piece of cake.
Seeing that the ship was about to reach the highest peak, Nami immediately turned the rudder and waited for the ship to enter the road to the Grand Route when it rushed to the highest peak. Chapter 14 Gemini Cape, the crew of One Piece, blah blah blah. The sailboat rushed down through the wind and waves. Woo! Suddenly a deafening roar fell on everyone's ears. Xia Luo was stunned for a moment when she heard this cry, and then she remembered the whale laboon in the original novel. Is that the sound of a whale just now? Nami asked with some confusion.
Yes, that is West Blue's island whale. You will definitely find it interesting when you see it. Xia Luo showed a playful smile, looking forward to Nami's expressions later. As the ship sailed out of the fog, this magnificent sea emerged before everyone's eyes. Looking at the scene in front of them, everyone smiled. Then Nami suddenly realized something was wrong. A huge black shadow appeared directly in front of the waterway, which frightened her and she quickly shouted. Xia Luo, why is there such a big rock at the exit? You never told me. Ha ha ha, that's not a rock. Don't care if it's a rock or not. Use your power to float the ship. If this continues, it's going to hit you. Nami shouted in horror that she could not control the speed of the boat going downhill. If it hit her, she would die. Although she also believed in Xia Luo, this was because she was too nervous to react at once. Give it to me. Xia Luo controlled the boat and flew up, landing steadily in the sea in front of the lighthouse, and then took the girls to the coast to have a rest. Phew, saved. Nami wiped the sweat from his forehead, looking like he had been saved. Ha ha ha, don't be so nervous. Xia Luo stepped forward, hugged the girl and touched her head. What you just mentioned is not a rock, what is it? Nami asked curiously after taking a breath after looking at the huge object in front of him. Exclamation mark. Island whale. Island whale. After hearing Xia Luo's answer, the girls looked at the huge island-like whale and were frightened out of their wits. Of course, the only ones who were frightened were Nami and Karina. Kaya and Nokigao were still relatively normal, with their mouths slightly open. Squeak. Ha ha ha, island whales are only found in West Blue. This island whale was brought here by a certain pirate group. Then Xia Luo told several people the story of Laboon, the island whale. Until the squeaking sound broke Xia Luo's story. The small door of the lighthouse opened, and then an old Mediterranean man dressed like a native Indian walked out of it. Oh, are you new pirates to the Grand Line? You actually know about Laboon.
Crocus marveled at the men at the lighthouse and the ships below.
I didn't expect that I could still control the ship at such a rapid speed without hitting Laboon. It's really an incredible skill to control the ship.
Crocus sighed inwardly, but what he didn't know was that Xia Luo had just used lion fruit to fly over. Otherwise you would definitely recognize that the fruit ability used by Xia Luo is lion fruit. No, we are not pirates, we are just a passing adventure group. Crocus looked at Xia Luo and the others in surprise. Adventurers are really rare these days. Are there any adventurers who are not pirates? Since he stayed at Twin Capes for so many years, he has met all kinds of people, all of whom sailed towards this sea with dreams, greed, and desires. But what he saw in this young man's eyes was purity. Maybe he was really just an adventurer who went to sea for adventure. Crocus smiled at the thought. I see, the sea weather on the Grand Route is very changeable. You should be ready to record the pointer, right? Yep. Nami somehow pulled out a ball from his chest, which contained the special pointer used by the Grand Line. Then I wish you a safe journey, Crocus said with a smile. Wait, Mr. Crocus. Young man, do you have anything else to do? Crocus looked at Xia Luo doubtfully. There is indeed something going on. Xia Luo jumped from the boat and slowly drew out her sword. I want to experience your strength as a member of the Pirate King's crew. A trace of surprise flashed in Crocus's eyes, and Kaido looked indifferent. What's the crew of the Pirate King? I'm just a lonely old man guarding the entrance to the waterway. Young man, are you looking for the wrong person? Haha, it's useless to quibble. Mr. Shiki told me all about the identity of One Piece's crew. Xia Luo smiled slightly and said, the next moment. The long sword in his hand cut out a sword energy. Slash wave. The sharp sword energy rushed straight away. Crocus covered armament Haki with the sole of his foot and kicked away Xia Luo's slash wave. Golden Lion's moves. You are the inheritor of that guy from Golden Lion? Crocus shouted in surprise. Xia Luo, are you actually the inheritor of the great pirate Golden Lion? Before Xia Luo could reply, Nami and Karina were the first to speak out in surprise. Era, don't you know that you have been together for so long? Reiju looked at Xia Luo strangely, as if asking, didn't you tell your crew this information? Ha ha ha, didn't I tell you before that I once lived on an uninhabited island for 2 years, and then I met Mr. Shiki who drifted to the shore. After I rescued Mr. Shiki, I became his disciple and studied swordsmanship for 2 years. It wasn't until his death that I went to sea. Xia Luo responded with a smile. I haven't said it at all, okay, you only said the first half, but I haven't heard you mention the second half. The two women said with anger on their faces, they didn't expect that Xia Luo had hidden so much from herself after being together for so long. Ha ha ha, I'm not afraid of your disgust Nami-chan, so I won't mention it at all. Nami was moved when he heard that Xia Luo was doing it for him. He knew that he had always hated pirates before, so he did not reveal his identity to him. HMPH, no matter who you are, don't try to get rid of me in the future, do you hear me? Nami said with a hint of anger and arrogance. Yes, yes. Xia Luo laughed, then turned to look at Crocus. Didn't you expect that a guy like Golden Lion would die in obscurity? It's really sad. Crocus sighed, then saw Xia Luo's eager expression and said immediately. If you are here to fight with me, then you are disappointed. I am just a retired ship's doctor. There are many strong men in this Grand Line to compete with you. My strength is not as good as yours. Crocus shook his head and raised his hands in surrender. Alas, your attitude makes me lose the desire to fight. Xia Luo sighed and took back the sword. I thought I could test the strength of the former Pirate King's ship doctor to see if there were all strong men on the Pirate King's ship. I didn't expect the latter to admit defeat so simply. Ha ha ha, after all, I am just a ship's doctor and not good at fighting. The blow just now made my feet tremble. If I continue to fight, I will die. Crocus did not feel ashamed, but laughed. TCH, that's boring. Xia Luo turned around and jumped onto the boat, calling Nami and others to set sail. The women jumped back on the sailboat and set sail again. Haha, this sea is going to become more chaotic. I didn't expect that the successor of the Golden Lion would actually be born. With this guy's character, the Marines will probably have a lot of headaches in the future, ha 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 ha. Crocus stood on the shore and looked at the sailboat in the distance and couldn't help laughing. Chapter 15 Facing Natural Disasters. After leaving Twin Capes, it didn't take long for the weather to get dark. What's going on? Why did the storm suddenly come? Nami shouted in surprise, even though he already knew about the weather changes in the Grand Route. It was unpredictable, but I didn't expect that the weather would be so bad before we even saw the first island. Haha, this is just an appetizer, just think of it as a welcome ceremony. Xia Luo grinned, looking at the dark clouds in front of her and feeling eager to try. From the many novels he read in his previous life, people often did unexpected things, and he really wanted to imitate them. Xia Luo walked straight to the bow of the ship and drew out his swords. Hey, Xia Luo, what are you going to do? Now is not the time to do this. Come over and help. Ha ha ha, Nami, don't be so panicked. Just leave the rest to me. Xia Luo laughed and comforted Nami. There is no fear in the face of natural disasters. Powerful energy surges out of the body. Armament Haki fully covers the dead tree Sakura 10. Black-blue aura and lightning enveloped Xia Luo's body. Ha. Exhaling a breath of turbid air, the aura and lightning around him slowly merged into the swords, and the air seemed to be distorted. Ha 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 ha, let me see whether the natural disaster is invincible or whether I am stronger. Xia Luo laughed wildly, and his eyes flashed with something called crazy. If Xia Luo saw his data panel at this time, he would be surprised to find that his Conqueror's Haki changed from C to B, directly crossing 2 small stages. When he chose to face the natural disaster, the courage he had accumulated for a long time grew and began to truly show his strength. Wei Guo. The 2 swords were swung out, and a powerful energy wave shot directly at the black cloud that looked like a natural disaster. The energy wave merged into the black clouds. Xia Luo retracted his swords and panted slightly. The move just now consumed a lot of his energy. Boom. The black clouds of lightning and thunder suddenly resembled ants scurrying away, and the powerful airflow generated by the energy wave directly blew away all the black clouds in front of Xia Luo. A powerful hurricane swept across the sea. Wow, the waves kept beating against the boat. Ah, bastard Xia Luo, what are you doing?
Nami was so frightened by this scene that she squatted on guard with her head in her hands, and continued to curse Xia Luo. What a powerful force. Is it powerful? Reiju said in disbelief as he stood on the deck. It was not until the hurricane slowly dissipated that the sea returned to calm. Ha 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 ha, it's been solved anyway. Charge, head towards our great route. Xia Luo raised her arms and shouted. It was not until night that they reached the target island. Before we even got close to the island, a warm welcome sounded from the coast. This familiar scene, looking at the cactus shape behind this town, isn't it the route Luffy takes to Whiskey Mountain? Unexpectedly, by such a coincidence, this pointer is actually the pointer pointing to Whiskey Mountain. Welcome. Welcome to Whiskey Hill. Strange, why do people here warmly welcome a ship when they see it coming? Nami looked at the strange residents on the shore and asked her own questions. This island is called Whiskey Mountain. It is one of the strongholds of Baroque Studio. It is considered a bounty hunter's den. There are many bounty hunters living here. He would often welcome young and inexperienced pirates to come here to enjoy themselves, and then kill them in their sleep in exchange for bounties, and take away the treasure on the ship. Xia Luo explained. But there is no pirate icon on our flag. Why would they welcome us? Haha, this is the grand route. You can't use normal psychology to speculate on the people here. I guess they want to take advantage of the evil. No matter they're pirates or anyone else, the end of coming to the island here will not be good. Then do we still want to go ashore? It doesn't matter. The bounty hunters here are very weak and can't hurt us at all. Xia Luo spread her hands and smiled, not taking these bounty hunters seriously at all. These goods are meant to be used all over the world to catch small pirates. If it weren't for the protection of Baroque Studio, they wouldn't be able to make any trouble at all. It can only be deceived by inexperienced pirates. Luffy, who is just starting out, has the ability to massacre the town. Let's go up and see what tricks they will play. With Xia Luo's explanation, Nami also smiled evilly. Since they want to rob us, why can't we rob their money? Welcome, are you all pirates who have just arrived at the Grand Line? A strong man in a suit and leather shoes with egg-shaped hair greeted him with a smile. No, we are just bounty hunters passing by. Nami also greeted him with a smile, and for a moment the two of them were smiling. Bounty hunter, there should be some bounties for catching pirates, hee. A disguised bounty hunter in the crowd said to himself, but he didn't know that everything he said was heard by Xia Luo. This is Whiskey Mountain, known as the Welcome Town. I am the mayor of this town, Ikaram. The bounty hunter has prepared a banquet for you. Please come with me. Ikaram invited with a kind smile. The bounty hunter disguised as the townspeople behind him also welcomed him enthusiastically. Let's go, it's free if you don't want it. Xia Luo signaled, while Nami snickered from behind. How dare you invite Xia Luo to dinner? These guys don't know how much Xia Luo eats. I hope they won't regret it later. Karina also had a bad smile on her face, but she hid it deeply. When she turned around, she had changed into a gentle smile. In the pub at night, the bounty hunters opened their mouths wide and looked at the plates stacked several high next to them in surprise. Looking at Xia Luo, who still has something to say, the corners of her mouth can't help but twitch crazily. Ikaram looked a little ugly and gestured to a blue-haired girl next to him. The latter immediately understood and approached Xia Luo with a large glass of beer and a warm smile. Master Bounty Hunter, don't just eat, come and have a drink too. The girl looked ambiguous, leaning next to Xia Luo and saying seductively. Xia Luo looked at the blue-haired girl and raised the corners of her mouth slightly. He would not refuse anyone like him who was leaning against her. He took the beer, then held the girl in his arms. His eyes became deep-set. Said affectionately, "Beautiful lady, what's your name? Let's have a drink." The hugged Vivi's eyes flashed with panic, and she said with some reluctance. Sir, I am Vivi, the mayor's daughter. I'm not good at drinking, so I won't keep you company. Vivi wanted to break free from Xia Luo's restraints, but she couldn't break free due to the strength, so she could only look at Ikaram helplessly. Since Miss Vivi has brought the wine, why don't you have a drink with me? If you're not good at drinking, just take a sip. The corners of Xia Luo's mouth curled up, as if she thought of something fun. Then he sucked the wineglass and bowed his head. Vivi's eyes widened, looking like she was about to cry without tears. It's over, I just came here as an undercover agent not long ago, and I just made love like this. It's the first time. Captain Xia Luo seems to really like beautiful women. Reiju looked at the sweet-looking Vivi, with her slender branches and fruity appearance, and then looked at her own figure and nodded. He is the type that Captain Xia Luo likes. Ikaram, who was not far away, started to look flustered, and subconsciously almost blurted out, Princess Vivi. Well, sir, my little girl is not good at drinking. If you want someone to drink with you, I will drink with you. Ikaram stepped forward in a panic, and it was obvious from the sweaty appearance that he was nervous at this time. Don't be so anxious. Let me collect some interest first. You should have drugged the food. It really affects the taste. Xia Luo raised her head to Kaido, and even smacked her lips. It tasted really good, princess-flavored beer. Wah. What, sir, you are joking. How could we drug you? Ikaram forced a smile on his face and was still covering it up. I'm not a fledgling pirate, you can't fool me. Xia Luo smiled and directly exposed the tricks of Ikaram and others. Anyway, we've almost finished eating and the interest has been collected, so it doesn't matter if we break up now. There was silence at the banquet for a while, and the bounty hunters showed fierce looks. Ikaram's attitude also changed, showing a ferocious smile and speaking in a cold tone. Chapter 16 Princess Vivi. Now that you've discovered it, there's nothing we can do about it. I originally wanted to kill you in your sleep. All of them. Control his crew members first and capture them all. Following Ikaram's order, the bounty hunters began to move. Nami and the others didn't care at all, looking at them like clowns. Boom. A vast aura mixed with evil thoughts rushed out of Xia Luo's body. The bounty hunters stopped one after another, their eyes turned white and they all fell down with bubbles blowing from the corners of their mouths. What's going on? Ikaram and Vivi looked at the bounty hunter who fell to the ground in horror, wondering what the boy had just done to knock everyone down in an instant. Xia Luo's Conqueror's Haki bypassed them, so he only felt the amazing momentum of the young man in front of him, but did not actually feel the impact of that momentum. You are the royal family of Alabasta, right? Are you Princess Vivi? Xia Luo looked down at Vivi, who was so shocked that she forgot to break free from her arms. How do you know our identities? Vivi's expression was ugly, and Xia Luo's words undoubtedly revealed their identities. And I don't even know who the other person is. You don't need to worry about what I know from there, but I actually know the information you want to check. Including who is the owner of Baroque Studio and what is its purpose. What is the identity of this man? Not only does he know himself so well, he also knows Baroque's information and what his purpose is. Vivi had a fearful look on her face, and for a moment she couldn't figure out what the other person wanted to do. Okay, I won't tease you anymore. I have all the information you are looking for. I can also help you, but you need to agree to one request of mine. Xia Luo let go of Vivi and straightened her clothes a little. Any request? The vigilance of Vivi was let go, and she took 2 steps back, and asked hurriedly after hearing what Xia Luo said. Princess Vivi, we don't know this person's identity yet, is it really okay to rashly believe in him? Ikaram reminded with a worried tone. Vivi did not look back, but looked at Xia Luo with firm eyes, and the latter showed a playful smile. At this time, Nami and the others came over and looked at the 2 people confronting each other curiously. Why, have you fallen in love with this little girl again this time? Karina curiously walked to Xia Luo and asked. Nami turned her head away from him. She would be angry about this before, but after being educated by Xia Luo frequently during this period, she ignored him. What? Are you attracted to me? Vivi's face turned red, and when she saw Xia Luo looking at her with a playful look, she couldn't help but take a few steps back. But he soon calmed down again. The information uncovered since going undercover with the organization has led to more and more senior employees at Baroque Studios. What he comes into contact with is still at a relatively low level. If the strength of cadres at a higher level is not known, how terrifying it would be. Therefore, she needs strength, and the man in front of her has extraordinary strength. After lowering her head and thinking for a while, Vivi decisively raised her head and looked at Xia Luo with firm eyes. If you can help my country, I'll say yes to you no matter what. She has already considered that she must save her country, so she had to bet on the man in front of her. Your Highness Princess Vivi, you can't risk yourself. No matter what, please believe us, the soldiers of the kingdom will definitely protect the king and your Highness the princess. Ikaram looked even more anxious. In his opinion, this was already a sign of Princess Vivi's distrust of them. No, Ikaram, I've already thought about it. The more we investigate, the more we find that the members of this organization are very powerful. If the boss behind the scenes is really the person we guessed, then we will undoubtedly not have the power to protect Alabasta. The more Vivi spoke, the lower her tone became. Just a while ago, she went undercover at Baroque Studios. For some reason, someone suddenly transmitted some messages to her, mostly without her noticing. Facing this mysterious man who secretly sent her information, she watched the content with a dubious attitude. Finally, an incredible conclusion was reached. The boss behind this studio is probably Alabasta's hero in recent years, Crocodile. Due to the lack of information, she still needs to further improve her status in Baroque Studio to obtain information. But the situation has gotten worse recently, extending to a point she couldn't even imagine. News broke some time ago that there were a large number of dancing fans in Hong Kong Governor Nahana. This completely aroused the anger of the people, using his childhood sweetheart Kosha as the. A rebel army of leaders was formed, determined to overthrow King Cobra to stop his violent behavior. This makes Vivi eager to find out the truth and then announce it when she returns to the country. In other words, she didn't have much time anymore, so she wanted to take a gamble on Xia Luo. If you can save your country, you will not hesitate to sacrifice yourself. Vivi's serious and determined look was noticed by the women behind Xia Luo. Xia Luo, tell me what's going on. Nami stepped forward and asked Xia Luo in an indifferent tone. Nothing, it's just a plan to steal the country by the 7 warlords of the sea who don't know whether to live or die. Xia Luo said casually, not caring that Vivi heard it. Really? Vivi showed a true expression. Judging from the information they had obtained before, Sand Crocodile is the most likely person to do this. But what does the plan to steal the country mean? Moreover, using the words, I don't know whether to live or die. In front of the 7 warlords of the sea shows no respect for the 7 warlords of the sea. This young man seems to be very confident that he can defeat Crocodile. Otherwise, the young man in front of him is stupid and looks at Crocodile like a frog in a well. However, judging from his courage, the former is more likely, which makes Vivi feel hopeful. 7 warlords of the sea. Is that the one you mentioned before? The 7 great pirates on the sea who are recognized by the world government, will they get into trouble if they get involved in this matter? Karina frowned. Before, Xia Luo also told them about some situations on the sea, the 3 major forces of the Grand Line, Marine, 4 emperors, and Shichibukai. Being classified as one of the 3 major forces must have considerable strength, so Karina had to consider it carefully. If it would involve some of Xia Luo's safety, she would refuse without hesitation and lead Xia Luo not to dwell in this muddy water. But this made Vivi a little anxious. She heard what Karina meant and immediately stepped forward and said, "My lord, please help us defeat Crocodile. We can pay you 1 billion belly after we succeed." If it had been in the past, Nami and Karina would have agreed immediately upon hearing the news of 1 billion belly. But now there are more than 3 billion baileys in the base, and they can be considered people who have seen the world. Although it was very exciting, it still remained in a normal state. "Well, I can help you defeat Crocodile. I don't have to take 1 billion baileys, but I want you to get on my ship." Xia Luo responded with a smile, and Vivi, who was very nervous inside, also breathed a sigh of relief. "What? You bastard captain, do you know what you just said?" Nami and Karina couldn't sit still, and immediately jumped over and angrily pulled Xia Luo's collar and roared. "It seems that if you don't give me an explanation, I won't be done with you." "Okay, stop talking nonsense. You don't really think that the royal family of Alabasta has so much money to give us?" Xia Luo took away the 2 hands holding the collar, then stretched out his arms to hug the 2 women and explained. "The Alabasta region is very barren. It is almost all desert and rocks. There is nothing of value at all. Even if the kingdom's treasure house contains 1 billion belly, it is estimated that the country will be truly dead after it is taken out." Xia Luo stroked their hair to comfort them, which made them calm down, but then she turned her anger towards Vivi. "So, you women are lying, right? You want to have sex for free?" "Ah ha ha ha." Vivi was a little embarrassed when she was mentioned, and scratched her head in embarrassment. She had wanted to do it for free before, so she made a verbal promise first and then made plans. "Well, if you can defeat Crocodile and destroy his plans, I will come aboard your ship." Vivi bowed and begged Xia Luo with a solemn expression. At this time, she closed her eyes tightly, not knowing whether the other party would agree, and she was very nervous inside. Seeing that the matter had reached this point, Ikaram had no choice but to kneel down and beg Xia Luo for help. Chapter 17. Capture a lookout easily. "Okay, raise your head. Since you have agreed to be my crew member, I will help you solve these problems." Xia Luo walked up to Vivi and stretched out her hand. "Yes." Vivi smiled happily and took Xia Luo's outstretched hand. "Ha ha ha ha. I didn't expect to hear such a shocking secret during this mission. Princess Vivi of Alabasta, it will definitely be a great achievement if I go back and report it to the boss." Suddenly, a devilish laughter came from a dark corner nearby. "I didn't expect that our boss would be Crocodile, one of the legendary pirates' 7 warlords of the sea. What an honor." Then a dull male voice sounded. A man and a woman walked out of the corner. The man looked like a rock singer and was wearing a thick coat with a number 5 printed on it. The woman was holding a parasol and wearing a short dress. She laughed just now. It was from her. Then, "That is the senior cadre of Baroque Studio, Mr. 5, Ms. Valentine Mikita. Why do they appear here?" Vivi looked panicked when she recognized the person's identity, but the hand held by Xia Luo seemed to give her courage and she calmed down again. "Princess Vivi, don't make any unnecessary resistance next time, just follow us back obediently, if you don't want to get hurt." Mr. 5 stood up, his expression looked a little arrogant, and he didn't take Xia Luo seriously at all. Ignoring Xia Luo beside Vivi, she walked towards her and started picking her nose while talking. These 2 people, Xia Luo, had discovered it a long time ago, but they never said it, but looking at each other like this. Xia Luo's head is full of black lines. This guy's direction of developing fruits is really crooked. "It's so dirty, could you please get away from me?" Xia Luo used Xiao directly in front of him and kicked him with a kick rich in armament Haki. Boom. Michita felt a stream of air fly past her quickly. She turned her head stiffly and saw that Mr. 5 had been kicked hundreds of meters away at some point and was falling to the ground not knowing whether he was alive or dead. "It would be too wasteful for you to develop this fruit like this." Xia Luo's figure had arrived in front of her at some point, rubbing her chin while sizing her up. 10,000 kilograms of weight. Michita jumped up in fright, then pressed down on Xia Luo. "Oh, the view is nice." Xia Luo put her hand in front of her forehead as if looking into the distance, and caught Mikita with one hand with the other hand. The ground beneath his feet was cracked. This was not because Xia Luo's strength was not strong enough, but because the ground could not bear the gravity. He gently threw Michita up and then caught it again, and sighed after going back and forth several times. "It's a bit light. Your fruit development is too poor." After hearing Xia Luo's words, Mikita, who had been stunned, came back to consciousness slightly and said with a trembling voice. Weird, weird. Monster, ha ha ha, no need to praise, your fruit ability is pretty good. Come be my crew member from now on. You can't refuse, otherwise you will end up. Xia Luo grinned mischievously and had a threatening tone at the end. Yeah. Sorry, I'll join you. Michita, who was frightened by Xia Luo, immediately lifted the gravity and returned to the ground to kneel down and beg Xia Luo for forgiveness. At this time, she was frightened and tears kept coming to the corners of her eyes. Whether Mr. 5 can survive or not is no longer her concern, now she just wants to live by herself. Very good, you will be the lookout on our ship from now on. Woohoo, I finally don't need to watch the boat anymore. Xia Luo said with a happy smile, hands on hips. Haha, don't you want to see the boat? I think you were greedy for someone else's body. Nami saw that Xia Luo was not restrained and found another beautiful crew member. She came to him with a look of disdain and hit him in the abdomen with her fist. Well, the defense was still not broken, but Nami still needed to vent. Nothing, isn't it boring to watch the sea alone all the time? Find someone? The lookout can also be the first to know the situation on the sea and report to you. Xia Luo coaxed Nami. Ha 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 ha, it's already late at night, let's go back to the ship and rest. Xia Luo picked up Nami and put her on her shoulders, then grabbed Mikita with her other hand like a chicken. Okay, it's time to come to your senses. Karina waved her hand in front of Vivi, signaling that it was time for her to come to her senses. Okay, so strong. I killed 2 senior cadres instantly with one move. It seemed like he had the upper hand. This man was really, really strong. Ikaram, please go back and report to your father. I will follow this man to see. I believe you will hit Crocodile. Vivi showed a determined expression and then followed Karina's pace. Princess Vivi, Ikaram knelt on the ground lonely. He now understands how powerful Xia Luo is, but he feels a little powerless about his own weakness and he can't do anything to help. On the way back to the ship, Xia Luo glanced slightly at the highest building in Whiskey Mountain. What's wrong, Xia Luo? Nami, who was sitting on his shoulder, asked curiously. She also noticed Xia Luo's sudden stop. Nothing. Xia Luo shook his head. Forget it, now is not the time to invite her on board, let's wait until Crocodile is defeated. Back on the ship, Xia Luo threw Mikita into the next room, and then carried Nami back to the room. What, did you just abandon me like this? Michita rubbed her sore butt, and then her face turned red as she listened to the movement in the next room. He, you just left me here like this. Now is a good opportunity, you have to escape quickly. After listening to the noise for a while, it still didn't stop, but it seemed that everyone else had returned to their rooms, which was just the time for him to sneak away quietly. A breath passed through her body, and Mikita instantly rolled her eyes and fell down. Haha, this little girl actually wants to run away, she needs to be educated tomorrow. Xia Luo from next door grinned. Early morning. Xia Luo woke up from her sleep. He stretched and covered Nami with the quilt before walking out of the room. By the way, he picked up Michita who was still sleeping soundly next door. Really, you will catch a cold if you sleep on the ground. He completely forgot that he knocked her unconscious with Conqueror's Haki last night. Hey, wake up. Xia Luo shook the sleeping Michita. Well, this is it. Michita opened her eyes drowsily, looking a little confused. It wasn't until I saw Xia Luo's face that I recalled everything about last night. Ah, don't eat me. Michita hugged her hat and shrank in panic. Huh? Why should I eat you? Or do you want me to eat you? Xia Luo said playfully, lifting the other person's chin. No, don't eat me. Michita was frightened into tears again. Ha 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 ha, I won't scare you anymore, it's morning now and it's time to have breakfast. Xia Luo laughed and felt that this girl was really interesting, she was worthy of being a character in the early stage of One Piece, and she had a special appearance. Huh. Mikita breathed a sigh of relief and followed Xia Luo out. Chapter 18 I want to be jealous but not my life. Xia Luo brought Mikita to the hall. Oh, today's breakfast looks very rich. Hey, you guy, didn't you wake up Nami? Karina sighed slightly as she watched Xia Luo appear with only Michita. After getting along with each other for so many days, several people already knew the situation of Xia Luo and Nami. Ha 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 ha, Nami probably wasn't early, she was too tired last night. Then you guys, please show some restraint. Karina punched Xia Luo on the head. Please help Nami next time. Xia Luo shook her head and came to the dining table and started eating. Oh, is this a newly researched dish from Nuochi Gao today? Nuoki leaned high on the bar with one hand on her chin and looked at the man in front of her with a smile. Well, I've recently made a new attempt. Haha, I've made a lot, so there's no need to eat in such a hurry. Nokagao wiped Xia Luo's sauce-covered face with a handkerchief. Come and have some, too. Kaya held a dinner plate and handed it to Michita beside her, indicating that the other party could sit down. Oh, thank you. Haha, there's no need to be restrained. I'll be a crew member on the same ship from now on. Kaya showed a gentle smile, which instantly made Michita feel like she saw an angel coming. Tears began to flow out again, and he lowered his head and began to eat wildly. Wow, it's delicious. I've never tasted such delicious food. Kaya looked at the scene in front of her with a smile, and suddenly remembered what happened along the way. Thinking about it carefully, it seems that all the girls except herself and sister Nuokagao were forcibly tied onto the ship by Xia Luo. As the first crew member to board the ship, she has been doing what she should do in obscurity, trying to help Xia Luo. The crew members at the back all have their own skills, like Nami who is good at navigation, Karina who is like a consultant and always thinks of ways to solve some problems, and Nokagao who is very good at cooking. Reiju is a grandmaster in the use of poisons, and also helps him research medicine. His combat power is the highest after Xia Luo. The position of Michida in front of her is that of a lookout, so Xia Luo will definitely train her. Squeak. The door of the restaurant opened again, and Vivi walked out. Seeing everyone still eating breakfast, she walked to Xia Luo worriedly. Thanks. Taking the breakfast delivered by Nuoki Gao, Vivi thanked her. Captain Xia Luo, when will we leave for Alabasta? There was a delicious taste in her mouth that she had never tasted before, but she couldn't be happy now. Now she only thinks about her country and if Crocodile's plan can be carried out. Her father could be in danger at any time. She didn't want to see the citizens of her country killing each other, so she always felt unhappy. Let's set off today, first go to Drum Island, and then head to Alabasta. Xia Luo finished the food in front of her, took Nuo Chigao's handkerchief, wiped her mouth and said, Drum Island? Where are you going and what are you going to do? Karina asked curiously. There's a very powerful doctor there. I want to pay a visit and get some medical books for Kaya. Kaya was stunned after hearing Xia Luo's words, and then smiled. Unexpectedly, brother Xia Luo always remembered what he said to me. Do we have the eternal pointer of Drum Island? Hey, I've already prepared it. I bought a lot of pointers when I was in Logue Town. Xia Luo took out a lot of pointers from the space and placed them on the table. The location recorded by each pointer was thoughtfully marked on it. What a reliable captain. Reiju picked up the pointer marked Drum Island, turned around and walked out of the cabin. On the deck, Xia Luo unfurled the sails and Reiju took the helm. The sailboat slowly sailed out of Whiskey Mountain and headed in a new direction. Whiskey Mountain is less than half a day away from Lil Garden. In the original novel, it only took less than 3 days for Nami to leave Whiskey Mountain at night, contract a germ in Lil Garden, and then go to Drum Island to seek medical treatment. It is inferred that it only takes 2.5 days to travel to Sigu Island. Xia Luo took Michida out after finishing her meal and asked her to go to the watchtower of the mast to pay attention to the weather and conditions on the sea surface. Then he sat on a lounge chair and basked in the sun leisurely. After Reiju fixed the sailing direction of the sailboat, Liu also walked over to him and sat down. Captain Xia Luo, is it really okay to get involved in this incident? Xia Luo pushed up her sunglasses and said without thinking. It doesn't matter, it's just a Shichibukai, no threat to us. You know, that's not what I'm talking about. Reiju looked serious at Kaido. As a powerful country among the world government member countries, the Kingdom of Germa has the right to hold the World Summit in Maryjoy every 4 years. At the World Summit, the world government's attitude towards the Alabasta country was completely different from other countries, and it seemed that there was something hidden in it. Coupled with Xia Luo's previous evaluation of Crocodile, Reiju knew that Xia Luo must be hiding something. The royal family of Alabasta is actually one of the 20 royal families rumored to form the world government. It's just that in the end, the royal family of Alabasta, the Neferutari family, refused to move into the Holy Land Marijoy. Xia Luo said something that could shock the world in a calm tone. In other words, it's actually one of the Vivi celestial dragons. Even Reiju had to be shocked by the information Xia Luo told. No, since their ancestors did not choose to move to the Holy Land Marijoy, they have lost the right to become celestial dragons. The Neferutari family has always guarded a secret, which is related to the secrets of the celestial dragons and the D family. The D clan. Gold D. Roger, is there any special secret inside? I don't know either, but world government will never let the secrets of the Neferutari family be exposed. If Crocodile really crosses the line, those 5 old guys from world government will definitely send CP0 to intervene in this matter. Reiju was a little curious. Since the world government would intervene, it shouldn't get involved. Then why do you want to get involved in this matter again, just because of that little girl? That's not entirely true. Crocodile has a talent I want. She can translate historical texts, and I happen to be very interested in historical texts. Reiju glanced at him. Female? Hey. Xia Luo touched her head in embarrassment. She couldn't help but let the person she wanted. The talents are all female, it's all the system's fault. Now I'm starting to wonder if what you said to me was also said to every girl who got on the boat. Rolling his eyes at Xia Luo, Reiju now has a clear understanding of his virtue, and he would rather be astringent than die. That's not true. Like Nami and Karina, I tied them onto the boat directly, and everyone else followed suit. Reiju glanced at Mikita who was sitting alone on the watchtower and did not refute Xia Luo's words. Then I have to thank you for not tying me onto the ship directly, but as a condition of negotiation with father. Ha. The main thing is that Ms. Reiju is in line with my aesthetics in every aspect, otherwise I would not be able to hand over the arc reactor technology to judge for research based on those conditions. Reiju smiled and did not answer, but with her here, Xia Luo was not bored on the deck, and they kept chatting and sunbathing until the afternoon. Chapter 19 Golden Lion's Son. There's something wrong. There seems to be a boat on the sea in front of us. Michida opened her eyes and carefully observed the boat in front of her. Is it a pirate? Or a marine? Xia Luo could sit casually on the chair without any movement, but observation Haki had already stretched out. It doesn't even look like it. It feels like it's the ship of a certain country's king. Xia Luo opened her eyes, took off her sunglasses, walked to the bow of the ship and looked over. A huge and luxurious ship is sailing on the sea. The king's fleet? The only country nearby that has a king is Drum Island, right? Is it that guy from Wapple? Don't worry about them, just keep sailing towards your goal. Xia Luo lost interest and returned to the deck. In his perception, these people did not seem to be too powerful and did not pose a threat. Well, I think our sailing route should be along the same route as them. Michida looked at the route of this huge sailing ship, and after comparing it, she found that it was the same as the navigation route of herself and others. Don't worry, nothing will happen. If they dare to take action, just kill them all. Xia Luo waved her hand and said not to worry. Soon, the distance between the two ships became closer and closer. Since Xia Luo was using a small boat, the sailing speed was faster. Hey, who are you? King Wapple stopped his boat to bow to me when he saw me and offered your treasures. Before Wapple finished speaking, Xia Luo impatiently drew out his sword and destroyed the entire sailboat with a slash wave. It's really this guy, but he's still as annoying as the original. Xia Luo picked her ears, completely unaware that Michida above was already frightened. Fortunately, I didn't resist him yesterday, otherwise this would probably be my fate. Seeing the ship that had been chopped into pieces slowly sinking, Michida swallowed. On this sea, if you don't have a ship, you can only wait to die, especially demon fruit power. Wapple was destined to die the moment he fell into the water. The journey for the next 2 days went very smoothly. With Nami, the humanoid climate sensor, any storm that was about to come would be bypassed. As for other small pirates, it only takes one sword from Xia Luo to destroy their ships and their lives. He had no mercy on the pirates who dared to come up and rob him. Finally arrived at Sigu Island. Xia Luo couldn't help but sigh as she looked at the ice-covered island. Due to the special geographical problem of the Great Route, Sigu Island has heavy snowfall all year round, and the entire island is covered with snow, turning it into a white island. Kaya, you come with me, the others will wait for me here. After saying that, Xia Luo picked up Kaya and headed towards the highest mountain on the island. On a snowy island, Xia Luo floated in the sky, looking at the snow-covered town below and the rabbits in the suburbs. Soon we came to the highest mountain, and a castle was standing on the top of the mountain. Dr. Kuleha frowned as she watched the two people descending from the sky from the window. Oh, trouble is coming. Then Dr. Kuleha slowly stood up and walked out of the study. Where are you going, Dr. Kuleha? Chopper stopped making medicine and asked in confusion. Nothing, Chopper, just keep making medicine and come out. Dr. Kuleha did not explain to Chopper, closed the door behind her back and walked to the front door. Xia Luo's sensory perception person has arrived at the door, and the door has been opened without knocking. Dr. Kuleha glanced at the two swords on Xia Luo's waist, and then looked at Xia Luo's golden hair. Are you the son of Golden Lion? The words were so shocking that Xia Luo's head was completely covered with black hair. No, I am Master Shiki's disciple. This blonde hair looks like that guy's son. Forehead, Xia Luogan was silenced in just a few words. What do you want to see me for? It was Drive Kuleha who was the first to ask the topic. She was a little curious whether this Golden Lion's apprentice came here because of some incurable terminal disease. And Xia Luo is not surprised that this old woman who has lived for 139 years knows Golden Lion. On the contrary, it would be strange to live for such a long time without hearing the reputation of Golden Lion. Ahem, that's it. The doctor on my ship is very talented in medicine. Good, but ordinary medical books have made it difficult for her to make progress. I want to buy Dr. Kuleha's medical experience. If possible, please give me some advice. Xia Luo bowed his hand. He still respected the doctor, not to mention that he was an old acquaintance with Mr. Shiki from the previous words. This is probably the famous doctor that Mr. Shiki once sought because of the rudder on his head. Dr. Kuleha looked at the petite and cute Kaya next to her, who also bowed slightly to her with a gentle smile on her face. Well, you're a very polite little girl. 100 million belly, if you give it now, you can come in with me. He opened his mouth with a small goal. Xia Luo glanced at Kaya beside her, and without hesitation took out 100 million berry from the space and handed it over. Oh, boy, you are quite rich. Why did you decisively take out 100 million berry? It seems that you care about this little girl. Dian held a small dozen worth 10,000 belly in his hand. Little girl, you have to take good care of it, otherwise you will be snatched away. Dr. Kuleha said teasingly, putting Bailey in her pocket without hesitation. Kaya's cheeks turned red at the words. Come in with me. He easily carried a box containing 100 million belly, and he didn't look like a 139-year-old person at all. It seems that this old woman is also a strong person. After being led in, Xia Luo saw Chopper at the end of the corridor. Chopper was exposing his body and most of his face, thinking he was hiding it well. Unexpectedly, Xia Luo saw it the first time she came in. It was so frightened that it ran back to the study. Dr. Kuleha covered her face in response. What the hell is this kid doing? Haha, Mr. Tanuki looks quite cute. Kaya covered her mouth and smiled. If Chopper had been there, she would have screamed angrily. Dr. Kuleha did not correct Kaya's name, but took Xia Luo to the study. The moment he heard the door open, Chopper was already hiding behind the cabinet, watching Xia Luo and the two without saying a word. But Chopper's hiding skills are really poor. Chopper, bring me all the medical books and virtues that I have recorded. It's Dr. Kuleha. After receiving the order, Chopper changed his cowardly attitude and immediately stood up and saluted. Then he rummaged up and down in a hurry, and soon there were more than 20 books piled on the floor. Kureha's medical books are all here, Chopper said with a happy look on his face. How about it? Chopper looks good. He is the disciple who has inherited my medical skills. Do you want to take him on board with you? Dr. Kuleha looked at the happy Chopper and suddenly thought of it and said to Xia Luo. Mother Kuleha, what are you talking about? I will not get on the ship with other humans. Chopper, who was originally happy, suddenly became disgusted with Xia Luo. Xia Luo shrugged. At this time, Chopper still hated humans. He didn't have the charm of Luffy, and he didn't need Chopper to get on the ship. Look, I already have the lovely Kaya-chan on my boat. If she really wants to go to sea, there will definitely be friends who really want to invite her on the boat in the future. That's right. It seems that the plan to get rid of this troublesome Tanuki has failed again. Mother Kuleha, what you say is too much, Chopper shouted with a sad face. Okay, now that my goal has been achieved, it's time for me to say goodbye. Xia Luo and Kaya took the medical books and bowed, then walked to the main door. Chapter 20. A matter of life and death for the country. 2 days later, Xia Luo finally arrived at Shunting Island, the island where Alabasta is located. After a wave of supplies were carried out in the port city. The weather in Alabasta is really hot. Does anyone want to join us in this project for Crocodile? Looking at Alabasta in the hot weather, Xia Luo sighed with emotion, and then asked the girls. I'm going. Vivi was the first to stand up. This was a matter of life and death for her country, so she had to go there in person. I also need to go. Nami and Karina spoke one after another. They would not miss the opportunity to search for 7 warlords of the sea treasure. I also want to witness Captain Xia Luo's fighting style with Shichibukai. Reiju smiled and raised his hand, indicating that he also wanted to go. No one else? Among the remaining people, Nokigao and Kaya were not interested in fighting. So I had no idea of going. Michida was pretending to be a turtle, shrinking her head and saying nothing. Mikita, don't you want to say goodbye to your former boss? Xia Luo took out Michida, who was pretending to be dead, and asked. These days, he spent a lot of time training Michida's fruit abilities. In his opinion, the light and heavy fruits have a lot of room for development. If they can cultivate to awakening and expand the light and heavy fields that can freely control gravity, it will greatly improve the combat aspect. Just imagine, being able to control a person's weight at will in space has a huge impact on a person. Increasing or decreasing the weight of his body at the moment of movement will have a great impact on his movement or strength. Gravity is power, but can the concept of light weaken part of a person's power? And the light and heavy fruit can be said to have a lot of room for use in paper arts in Marine 6 styles. Originally, paper arts was about sensing airflow and imagining the body as light as tissue paper to dodge attacks. Now, the weight of those with light and heavy fruit abilities can be as light as tissue paper. It has a natural blessing for the skill of dodging attacks. Generally, devil fruit has some flaws. For example, Xia Luo's fruit can only act on dead objects, Michida's fruit can only act on itself, and Karina and Robin's fruits must be posed before they can be used. In or like the original work, Luo's op fruit can only act on its own room area. Therefore, unless it is developed to awakening, these fruits have an upper limit. Returning to Michida's side, when Michida was brought out, she looked hopeless. No need, my strength can't help you. Michida's body trembled slightly and she stammered Kaido. She doesn't want to go to the rainy land with Xia Luo. If Xia Luo loses to Crocodile, then she has only one way to face the betrayer, and that is death. Although she was sailing for the past few days, she also liked the atmosphere of Xia Luo Adventure Group. But for a while, it was impossible to reach the point where he would risk his life to protect this adventure group. After all, unlike Luffy's pirate group, it only took less than 2 months for the friendship of the pirate group to reach an indestructible level. Not counting the 2 years of training, Luffy's sailing time did not even exceed 1 year. It's a bit unbelievable to think that it only took 2 months to achieve the friendship between the crew in the original book. No, after all, he's your former boss, but why don't you come and see me? I have to ask you over openly. Xia Luo said so confidently that he directly carried Mikita up without giving her a chance to refute. Poor Michida felt like cargo. Haha, then Sister Kaya and I will wait on the boat for you to come back. Nokigao waved his hand and left slowly under Michida's tearful gaze. Xia Luo is not worried about the safety of Nokigao and Kaya. They have now learned how to shave and moonwalk, their strength has also increased a lot, and they have recently started to practice Haki. There are less than 50 million pirates in the paradise who are no match for them.
There are really more than 50 million, and Xia Luo also left a phone bug for the two of them, so he can come back at any time to deal with the intruders. Let's go to the Rainland. Vivi, do you know the direction of the Rainland? I roughly know the direction. I remember it seemed like the city was heading south. Vivi pointed in one direction and said, looking at the yellow sand all over the sky, it would probably take half a day to get to the rainy ground. But if Xia Luo uses lion fruit to fly, the distance is estimated to only take an hour or two. Xia Luo took a look at the sky and saw that the sun was already high in the sky. It was already night in the rainy land. Adhering to the concept of completing the project quickly, Xia Luo directly bought a sand boat from the local area. It was not large in size, but it was enough for several people to ride on it. Then I built an awning, and just like that, a small airship was completed. Xia Luo was lying among the beauties, drinking juice leisurely, and even had Reiju's knee pillow. It was so comfortable. More than an hour passed, and we finally arrived at the rainy land after starting all the way from the port city. Is this the rain land known as the Dream City? It looks very prosperous. Nami couldn't help but said happily while looking at the bustling streets. Captain Xia Luo, I have always been curious, what are you doing in Yudi? Aren't we going to find Crocodile? Is he hiding in Yudi? Vivi is a little curious. She is a little impatient now. She doesn't know how far Crocodile's plan has progressed. But she just wanted it to end quickly. Well, that's right, this city is the headquarters of Crocodile, and Rainfeast was opened by Crocodile. It's troublesome to find the real owner, so why not just wait for him here and go in to have some fun? Xia Luo directly told Vivi without hiding the fact that Crocodile is located here. Casino? Isn't there a lot of money in there? Nami and Karina's eyes lit up. They had not forgotten the purpose of their visit. In addition to helping Xia Luo clean up some miscellaneous soldiers, he also came to search for the treasures here. The goal is clear. Xia Luo led a few people straight to the Rainfeast. Dense Intelligence Network Alabasta's Baroque Studio. When Xia Luo and others landed at the port city of Shunting Island, Crocodile, who was at the Yuyan base camp, received a report from his subordinates. Crocodile, who was sitting on the boss's chair with a gloomy expression, was thinking about Xia Luo. East Blue's rising super bounty hunter, what is the purpose of coming here? Is it for my head? And Princess Vivi of the Alabasta royal family, could it be that she has guessed about me? Is there any plan? Impossible. Baroque Studio has always been designed to be mysterious. No one knows my identity. Unless, Crocodile glanced sideways at Nico Robin beside him and then shook his head. Impossible. It is impossible for Robin to bet on a new person. At present, my big ship is more suitable for her to stay. There is no reason for her to betray. And once the bounty hunter really knew his purpose and died in the rain, it would not benefit her when he was liquidated later. Even the son of the devil, who is famous for his betrayal, would not do such a mindless thing. Tell me to go down and pay close attention to the situation of this bounty hunter. If necessary, send Mr. One to deal with him. Crocodile held his cigar in his mouth, took a puff of smoke and said calmly. Boss, my opponent has defeated tens of millions of bounty hunters. I think Mr. the First of may not be the opponent of this Xia Luo. Robin's face was calm, with a half-smiling smile all the time, and he replied lightly with a seductive voice. Are you questioning my decision? Nico Robin. Crocodile glanced at her, his words showing an unquestionable attitude. No, since it is your decision, I will make arrangements now. Robin smiled mysteriously, turned and walked towards the door. Crocodile's face was gloomy, and now he had begun to wonder whether Nico Robin had revealed his information. If he were asked to verify it, he would definitely not be able to eat juice like her.